Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast with still no name. I gotta make a title card and a name plate or something at some point. I'm
Yeah, we'll have to suck it up and make a name eventually.
well, has the name internally. Maybe we can get Chief to make us like a thing.
It's internally playable. Internally playable.
It's been internally playable since episode 0.
28. Yeah.
Since episode 0. Yeah, I'm Torloth, and that is still going by Snarky.
Yep.
Okay,
Stick with it.
let's stick with it. Maybe we change it later. Maybe we don't. This week there's been a lot of Xbox community be it. Let's. I don't want to say news, but it's been weird. Everyone
Concerns.
concerns, yes, but it's just been silly, especially with last week us talking about and the video and the episode going up like minutes before the news broke because I was asleep and the video was like processing all night because it takes a while to upload these puppies. And it just made me laugh. I was like, I get up and I'm like, we literally just talked about this in this episode. And then I had to put up a disclaimer, recorded before the announcements. Oh my goodness. So Starfield, you want to start? Well, I think we don't have a lot to say on the Starfield.
Well, I mean, I know it sounds like I'm giving them a lot of crap about Starfield and what they've been talking about it. And there's certainly some criticism to be leveled at them for how they're going about uh, generating the hype and advertising their game. But at the same time, at no point in time do I ever think that any game developer should release a game that's not even relatively ready. Now, I get it. Bethesda, we all know. Everyone who's ever played a Bethesda game, who's ever been even a slight fan of Bethesda games, knows day one release of the game is going to be buggy. It's going to be a wild ride. We all know this. The phrase "it just works" never happens.
Never. We talked
And
about Fall 76 last week and how it was always not good for us ever.
the thing is though, like I said, the big problem I have is, internally playable since 2018. That's when it was set. Now, you, Bethesda has investors,
Well, they
and
had
those
invest.
investors,
They
well,
they
yeah,
they they were
well,
actually private before. Now they
well,
have
they still had
investors.
somebody with money that put money down, and
Yeah,
someone that goes, "Hey, I spent money on your company, and you've been telling me this whole time that you've got this great game just ready to release. It's just got to be polished a little bit more.
yeah,
Why isn't it released?" And at a certain point, you're going to run out of the marketing BS and have to release a game.
yeah.
And that's what, from everything we could tell, that's kind of what happened with Cyberpunk 2077. Is they were like, "Oh, it's great.
Yeah,
It's
they
we're just going to give it a
underplayed how
little bit
much
more
dev time
polish."
needed.
And the investors were kind of finally like, "Okay, then we put money on the line here. You used our money, and that's fine. We don't mind. You're a great company, but we want to see some return. You say you got this amazing game. Everybody's saying this game is going to break the entire gaming world. You say it's pretty much done. It just needs some polish. I think you can polish it with some patches later on and release it." And so they released it, and what did we see? Oh wow, a steaming mess. Unless you're on PC, in which case you had a much better go of it. I mean, there were certainly some bugs still with PC, but it was nowhere near as bad as if you were on PlayStation or Xbox. And so, yeah, I'm going to give Starfield and Bethesda uh, some knocks on the head about the way they're marketing it. I get it. Be happy about your game. Be proud of it. But at the same time, I'm also proud that they're like, all right, look, we're gonna delay it till a release date's going to be probably uh,
They
at,
said first half
between
of
6 months to a
2023.
year,
Yeah,
because the first half of 2023 is possibly a year from now or a year and a month from now.
yeah. Uh, I I don't think it matters when it lands. I think what people are more upset about is that they've shown literally nothing else for this year outside of those two games. And I know the showcase is literally, what, 3 weeks away at this point, maybe a little
Hmm.
less. And they've got
Well,
nothing to look forward to. And they think they have nothing to look forward to. I want to put that into perspective, because
yeah,
I was going through the studios, and we've never seen anything from Roundhouse Games, which is a newer Bethesda studio. But if you want to know a
no.
little bit about them, they used to be Human Head Studio, and they made this little game called Prey. Now, not the arcane Prey, 2006 Prey. I'm holding up a copy for the camera because I have a 360 copy of it. And this game's actually backwards compatible. It hasn't been added to Game Pass, but it did get reinstated on the Xbox store, so you can actually buy it. I think it was 10 or $20 last time I saw it. But they made this game. We're working on a sequel, and apparently got Bethesda didn't like them for some reason, and was trying to do that thing where they're like, "Oh, we'll give you more funding." We don't give you funding. They end up bankrupting the studio and then buying them up and renaming them, which sucks. And I'm glad ZeniMax is out of the picture, because they've not the first time they've done something like that. That's kind of an EA move, if I'm being honest.
Oh yeah, that is totally an EA move. I mean, it
So,
worked
oh
business
yeah,
wise. I'm
it
not.
worked
I'm
for
not
them.
approving of it, but
It does work because the bigger company usually wins by just buying up whatever's left. And then the name went, the project Prey 2 went to Arcane, and then we got Prey, which is a fine game. I still like it, but this is much more classic FPS. Kind of cool, very different, and has one of the most memorable and kind of awesome openings that's existed in a FPS game. If you've never played it, which I'm guessing you've never, but it's good. I did like it. I just wish the PC version would get reinstated so I could play that, because apparently it would run better, but I wouldn't be surprised. Do you think, though, getting back on topic after I sidetracked us, do you think that Xbox has nothing coming this year? What are the odds, in your opinion? First party, third party, whatever. They have nothing else coming this year. They're not going to announce no games. What do you think the
I
odds of
think
that are?
I think they're going to bring something to the forefront. Um, I mean,
Well,
did we ever figure out what Roundhouse was working on back in 2021,
uh,
December 5th, 2021?
rumors say they've been working on a comic book game. Let me just bring up the Xbox Game Studios.
Because
So, because there's
rumors, from what I'm
26 of
seeing,
them,
is
right?
on a major comic license. PvPvE is the rumor I heard. But beyond that, eh,
I heard a little bit. I heard rumors of um, Judge Dredd, but I don't know. That would be awesome. I think Judge Dredd totally deserves
mm,
a game. And if you haven't watched Dredd, it was 2012 that movie came out. You should watch it. It's really good. Like, piece de resistance. Okay, so Xbox Game Studios has 343, which is Halo. World's Edge, that's the studio that does Age of Empires. The Coalition, that's your Gears of War. Gears of War 5 came out in 2019, I want to say. So they're probably almost up to another game, be it Gears of War 6 or something completely different. Then there's Compulsion Games. They made We Happy Few, but recently I streamed playing through their first game, Contrast. which is really cool, and I like that game a lot better. So hopefully they're doing something less We Happy Few, which I found to be one of those games that came out of Kickstarter hell. Feature creep up the wazoo. Like they were trying to do all this cool stuff and just lost it along the way. Double Fine, Tim Schafer's studio, they released Psychonauts 2 last year, so unless they're working on something very small and like indie like, I don't think we're going to see anything from them. The Initiative, they're working on the new Perfect Dark, which they just announced. I want to say that was last Christmas, like November-ish, I should say, that they brought in Crystal Dynamics to work on Perfect Dark with. So I don't think we're going to see that until 2023 at the earliest for 2024, but I don't know. In Exile, they do Wasteland, a lot of other tactical style RPGs. But they just released Wasteland 3. Was it 2020? 2021? I don't remember exactly when it came out, but it wasn't that long. Mojang, they do Minecraft, of course, and they could left field us with another Minecraft game. What do we know? Ninja Theory, we know Hellblade 2 they're working on, but I don't think it's going to be ready this year. Maybe. I don't know.
I think it's a matter of they're going to have a bunch of stuff to present, and
for sure.
it may or may not come out in 2022. Because I mean, you got to remember, I mean, we're approaching the middle of the year, and all these games are still coming out early 2023.
Some of them are. I didn't even get halfway through the list.
Also, an Indiana Jones game.
Yeah, that's from Machine Games, which is actually under Bethesda's banner, which I haven't gotten to quite yet. We don't know what Obsidian's been working on. The last game they released was that
not Outer Wilds.
Outer Worlds. Yeah, Outer Worlds was theirs, and I found kind of disappointing. But maybe with some better funding, they could make a better game. Playground Games, they just released the fantastic Forza Horizons 5. It's a fun game. I'm not playing it anymore, but I'm very sporadic. Any game that lets put anime girls on cars, 10 out of 10. Should allow more people to put anime girls in your game. Just saying, because it's really fun to take a very expensive car and put anime girls over it just to trigger someone. Pink Corvette with vanilla on it. Rare, Everwilds. Is that game ever gonna come out? They've been showing it off, I want to say, since 2018, and we still haven't seen hide nor hair of it outside of like a trailer. I don't know how you play this game. I don't know what you do in it. Turn 10.
From what I can tell, I would say Obsidian would be, going back to that, it would be working on Outer Worlds 2.
Well, they announced Outer Worlds 2. Didn't they also announce... Are they doing Avowed also? Because Playground Games is working on the Fable rework, reboot, whatever they're making with that. Undead Labs announced that they were doing State of Decay 3. There's been some recent bad news coming out of there, and I don't want to touch on that here. Bethesda Game Studios, of course, is working on Starfield. Alpha Dog Games is a mobile publisher, a mobile developer, and they were working on some. They've released that. It was either a Doom mobile game or something else. ZeniMax Online, they do the Elder Scrolls Online. Tango Gameworks just released Ghostwire Tokyo, and that's an Xbox, PlayStation exclusive, I should say, PlayStation 5 exclusive, and it's also on PC. It's Software. The last game was Doom Eternal in 2020, so maybe we'll see something from them. Maybe, I don't know. Arcane.
It's definitely possible. I mean,
well, we're gonna see Deathloop this year for sure on Xbox, 100%. I don't think there's a question that comes out to say that Deathloop is not going to be on Xbox this year. It's got a year exclusivity on PlayStation. That's kind of a funny situation that two Bethesda games, third party games, got bought for timed exclusivity. It's funny because I remember Sony showing it off and it's like, oh, look at these games. And it's like they're timed exclusive. And then, like, a few weeks later, Microsoft just bought the whole studio, the whole, the whole shebang. And I'm like, wow. They must have been desperate for money.
Well, a
To,
lot of game developers are.
well, they were private, right? Before Microsoft bought them. Before
Well,
Microsoft bought out
mhm. Well,
ZeniMax.
private or publicly traded, it doesn't matter. I mean, like you got developing companies like EA who are definitely not, strapped for cash. Like if they could
No.
bomb a couple games and still be like, okay,
Yeah.
that sucked, but we'll make it up on the flip side of it. And
I
then you got other games that have either like one intellectual property or maybe two that if they bomb one of those games, they're selling off some stuff to pay bills. And that's kind of more than normal. And that's why it's kind of exciting seeing indie developers, because a lot of times they're one or two people, who have a day job. And so it's a passion project for them.
Yeah, and they'll make whatever they want. Feature creep be
Yeah.
damned. And sometimes they're great and sometimes they aren't.
Oh yeah.
I feel like there's all sorts of great indie games out there that are, and that's the kind of the funny thing here is like you're looking at all these studios here. Like I'm looking at this list of all the Bethesda ones. And id Software, I know it's hard to think about it now, but they were an independent studio many, many moons ago. And they shaped they like paved the way for much more popular first person shooters. That whole genre basically is owed to mostly,
Hmm.
I don't want to say it's only them because there were other studios working on it. Looking Glass was the other one. It was making Ultima Underworld. And then like Wolfenstein came out. And Wolfenstein was just much more accessible than Ultima Underworld. And that's the thing. It's like ID Software literally started as tiny guys. And then they made Doom, and then there weren't
Hmm.
tiny guys anymore. And that's the thing. Like
Those four guys out of Shreveport, Louisiana.
id Software, they were out of Texas.
Hmm. They're now out of Texas, Richardson's, Texas. But it was founded February 1st, 1991, Shreveport, Louisiana.
No, they were. I know they're when they after they released Doom, they were based out of Texas.
And they were
And John
four
Carmack,
guys from the company Soft Disk:
yeah,
John Carmack, John Romero, Tom Hall, and Adrian Carmack.
Adrian Carmack, no relation, not related to John Carmack.
But
Yeah,
and,
that.
I mean, now they're much bigger
Well, I think
as
the
a
only
group.
person who's still there that's been there forever is the general manager. Is it? What's his name? He's been doing it for like 23 years. Like all the other talent's gone. Like there's not a single founding member still there, which is not to knock anything against id Software. They still do ridiculous work, and I think we'll forever be tech wizards because, my God, I don't know how you got. They're one of the only studios out there that makes their own engine, and it's like more impressive. So impressive. So I'm actually very much looking forward to whatever they're working on. Whether they bring back Commander Keen and go back to the old
Hmm.
days.
Oh God, I remember that.
Yep, Commander Keen. Uh,
Um,
well,
they
Wolfenstein.
actually have a lot of pretty long key employees. I mean, like you got Kevin Cloud. He wasn't quite the beginning, but
No, no, they had guys
like
for quite a
1992,
while. Yeah,
he was in the art department, and then now he's management. Donna Jackson has been there
that's mom.
since about 94, and she's
That's
management throughout the whole thing.
that's
Um,
that's ID software mom. She is
mhm.
very well known, and she's got lots of Easter eggs throughout all sorts of their games.
um, I mean, you just look at it. There's a couple that, of course, they're there for like a year or two, but I mean,
Well, they got
as far as like
Hugo Martin. Is that his name? He's one of the newer guys.
Hugo Martin, creative director,
Yeah.
yeah, from 2013, he's still
Did you know what he
currently
worked
with
on
them.
before he came to id
Mm-mm,
Software? He worked on
nah,
this little movie called Pacific Rim.
nice.
Yeah, I love Pacific Rim. That's a great movie. The sequel was not as good, but the first movie, Hugo Martin did beautiful work,
Oh yeah.
and I think his direction, be it a little weird in some things, and I respect the man for being able to beat Doom Eternal on a gamepad on Nightmare. That
Mm,
takes some balls. I've done
well,
2016 on Nightmare on a gamepad, but Eternal, oh my god,
well, I
that's a
mean,
complete different ball wax.
you got your main guys. They left. But I mean, and to be fair, like how old were they? They they were probably like, all right, we did our thing.
Well, we could probably talk forever about the history of its software. So let's try to get back. So we were talking
Back on topic.
about what id Software could bring back. They were talking about because there were job postings talking about them bringing back a classic IP, and I think that would be probably the original Quake because they already did Doom and
Hmm.
Doom 2016, which Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal are masterpieces. I don't think they're making another Doom game. Uh, with and I say that as someone who's actually beaten Doom Eternal and the DLC and knows how it ends. So I really don't think that they're gonna throw that all in the trash and be like, we're just gonna make a new Doom game. They might. You could maybe go back to the survival horror aspects of Doom 3.
Well, probably more of their stuff we'll know more about in June because that's when they're going to start doing their announcements for their August QuakeCon.
Yeah, they'll probably announce something and then show it off at QuakeCon because
Hmm.
they've said before that they've shown up. QuakeCon's crazy. I don't want to get sidetracked, but QuakeCon's crazy because they've literally been like, "Hey guys, this is a prototype uh, build. We want to show you the new game, but we ask everyone not to record it, and no one records it. Like everyone,
Well,
like you have an audience full of people that are your dedicated fans, and not a single person recorded it, or not a single person recorded it and uploaded it. Like someone might have recorded it and have it for prosperity, but it's
I
just crazy
guarantee you
to me.
somebody recorded something and then they went, I'm not sharing this with anybody. I'm not going to be that guy or that girl.
Oh, for sure.
And and there's a lot of that's the thing. Like this is why it's always sad to see any company kind of mess with their customer base because a lot of times customers they can be finicky. Gamers can be finicky. They can give you a lot of crap about small things, definitely. Uh, but you take care of them, and they will take care of you. Um,
Yeah.
you look at any game company with a dedicated base of customers, and you only start seeing that break down when the company does something that's against their consumers. I mean, look at Bethesda. Bethesda could really you used to be before 76. They could have they could have released a bag of poop, and Bethesda fans would have been like, I'm going to make a mod for this and we're going to do this. And but the thing is like you can only release so many bad things until your customer base is just like, you know what? Never mind.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. I'm going to go over here and do something else.
Okay. So
Uh,
let's try and get back on topic. We have veered far from the topic. I think we still had arcade machine games and Roundhouse to talk about. We already talked about Roundhouse in the hop, but we know Machine Games is working on. Damn it, Indiana Jones. We mentioned it earlier. We know they're working on that. Do you think we see that this year?
it depends. It really depends on how close they are to finishing it. I think a big part of it, like there's always that draw, especially if with the um, the opportunity presented by Starfield not being released this year.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
uh, a lot of the other major games not being released this year, so there's opportunity. But at the same time, um, it's maybe maybe they might develop some hype for it, really really press in that they got something to share, but I don't know if they will release anything because I think that it was they were talking about 2023, and at that, not even particularly a proportion of 2023. They were looking at more just 2023 in general for the release of Indiana Jones. I think
Did they say 2023? I don't remember them saying a date or anything.
it that might be more of a uh, possibility. Let's see. Yeah, it, I think it's more of assumption. It's not particularly directly from them. They've got a game teaser trailer out, and but at the same time they haven't specified a release date, so the assumption is 2023. But then again, it comes down to okay, how close are they? I mean, you got to be thinking there's somebody going. We got to put together some popular games,
Well, something's
and
got to be coming this because we heard about other stuff last year, like
mhm,
Contraband. We saw a trailer and heard some music. I'm assuming that's a game about smuggling things, judging by the name and the showing of cars and boxes with grass in them and wood
mhm.
crates. Like maybe it's something about smuggling, but I don't think they have nothing to show. There's got to be something coming this year, and I'm hoping it's something like left field. And I expect at least one either Game Pass Shadow Drop edition or just like one Game Pass edition that comes out that day, like they did last year with Yakuza Like a Dragon, or they're gonna do uh, a big third party day one Game Pass announcement for the fall, or maybe the summer. Something coming close that we know about, probably. I don't know. We'll see. Because that could be a knee jerk reaction as well. We just lost Starfield. What do we give our Game Pass subscribers for November to make up for this?
Mhm.
Because they were expecting this game at the end of November. Now they're not getting it. And there's the summer slot. I don't know how many people were really hyped. I was more like Redfall.
Mhm.
I was more. This game looks interesting. How are you gonna make the arcane stealth element work in a
Mhm.
in a PVE game? I'm interested by
Mhm.
that.
I think there's going to be something, and even if it isn't anything drastically new, there's going to be something. They're at least going to announce something. Indiana Jones, they're probably going to try in that same timeline. Now the problem is do you release it about the same time as you release Starfield? Because you know you've got an Indiana Jones movie coming out, and you kind of, as a game developer who's developing an Indiana Jones game, you kind of want to tie it together and have it in a perfect, nice little uh, wrapped box. And so they're like the film's been delayed to, I think it was like June 30th, 2023. So that's about the same window as Starfield. So do they kind of, you know, release it around December maybe, if there's like some kind of like push to be like, hey, here's a new trailer for this Indiana Jones game movie. Oh, and by
Oh,
the
the
way,
movie's coming
here's a
out.
game.
The
Hmm.
movie's coming out this year.
Yeah, the movie's coming
Mm.
out June 30th, 2023. And so here's the balancing act. Do you release and try to compete with Starfield? Which, I love Indiana Jones games. Don't get me wrong; it brings me way back.
Is it actually going
But
to be competing? That's the real question.
well, see, the thing is, everybody's got a limited amount of money. Like, $60 is one thing, and it may even be under a different business model where Microsoft might be looking at, well, it's going on, Game Pass. In which case, then kind of what they're looking at for sales and stuff like that isn't exactly vanilla business model. Um, but at the same time, you still want to have that kind of like that bragging rights, that amount of okay, well, here we had consecutive
We had
players
this
doing this or
many.
consecutive downloads
We had this many
on
users
launch.
play, or yes, no, you
Yeah.
want that for sure.
And so the thing is, do you release it when Starfield's coming out, which is to all intents and purposes at the furthest delay, June, July? Because guess what? That's still the first half of 2023.
Oh, I don't know what.
Pe- People hear the first half of 2023 and their immediate reaction is like, "Oh, so you mean like January, February?" That's possible.
Possible. I honestly,
June, July is also
I'm gonna
possible.
be I'm gonna be honest. I think Starfield's probably gonna be next holidays, next year's, next 2023's holiday game. I'm like 80% sure on that.
um with
I
the delay, I honestly, because I haven't seen anything. Like,
Yeah, I haven't seen
I've
anything
seen
either. So I'm
sandwiches
like,
and robots.
yeah, there was a
So
robot, there was a sandwich. We said this last time, and I
so it's
honestly
hard
think
to
that
say, to look at it and be like, oh yeah,
give it the whole year.
look at this game. I mean, and then at the same time, you're going to question yourself because I mean, we've seen gameplay with Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah,
We've seen really nice gameplay, and then it turns out, well, that wasn't actual
well, the
gameplay.
gameplay was real. The problem was is that it was running at 30 FPS at the top of the line consumer card at the time, the 1080 Ti,
Hmm.
when we saw it, and that was like the opening segment, which ended up being dumbed down a little bit, like reduced a little bit. I the thing is that feature creep's kind of a big deal, and I remember seeing Cyberpunk running at 30 FPS, 1080p or whatever it was on the 1080 Ti, and going, how the hell is this gonna run on a base Xbox One and a base PS4? Because I know how games scale, and you get to a point and there's diminishing returns visually. Like if we're talking, uh, you're gonna play a game, like any game, you get to like high, and then you have
Mhm.
diminishing returns after high. Everything after high is just crazy. It's not
Well,
like
like on the utmost possible graphical experience that you could have in a game, you start getting into territory where you have to have each element of your gaming setup be high end. So, like, if I could, slap in a 30, what is it, 3080 Ti is the highest end
3090
now, or
Ti is
or
the
the new
highest.
40 series that they're coming out with. Like,
Yeah.
if at launch I slap in the latest, greatest, absolute most beast mode video card in my machine, Well, then, okay, what's my CPU doing? What's that at? What kind of RAM do I have?
Oh,
What's
for
that at? What
sure. And that's
what
the
kind of
thing.
motherboard do I have? And that's just on PC. And then you're looking at you start getting into areas of like, okay, what kind of cables do you have? And this is only when you're really pushing everything level of detail. And then you get to that final stage. Okay, what kind of monitor do you have?
Yeah.
And
Because you could run.
that's why, because you're going to pay, what, $500 to $1,000 for the one of the best monitors you can get. You're going to pay about 40 to $50 for a gold plated, absolute stunning HDMI or some kind of display port monitor cable. You, God knows how much you're going
Oh
to
yeah,
pay
for
for
sure. It
the next latest greatest video card, the way that industry's been going. And
well,
then
yeah, the
motherboard,
market's.
CPU, RAM. You, you're paying. You're talking like $3,000 to $4,000 minimum. And so yeah. So when you're pushing, when you're trying to get the most amazing experience, you're getting definite reduced returns to that.
Yeah.
And so I understand the draw that Cyberpunk 2077 developers had to go with that, PS4, Xbox, the not X series, the one X or whatever. I understand the draw because most people had that. There's a lot of those out there, and so you're trying to get as many people as potential customers as possible, and that's fair. I understand that draw, but that takes a lot of dev time, because I mean you don't slap something that you program for PC into an Xbox and just call it a day. It's as close as you're going to get to slapping it in and calling it a day, but it's still, you're going to have to tone down some stuff. You're going to scale other stuff down. You're going to have to,
Um,
well, I mean, anytime you add a new console or new operating system or anything like that, you're going to have a lot of dev time just bringing that version up to par with your original development. And so, scope creep is definitely one thing, but then also, like, adding a feature is one thing, but
Yeah.
then going and saying, okay, we're going to put this on, low end. What is effectively going to become low end? Which is, I'm not trying to insult, PS4 or Xbox One, players, because I have one, an Xbox One, and it's fine. But at the same time, like, you have entering into the field the PS5, the Xbox, what is it, the
Series
X?
X. There's a
Yeah,
Series S
Series X,
also, but the Series X is
which
the high end one.
is now bringing into new architecture, much higher end comparatively. So you, you're changing from just, okay, you're making sure all the programming and code references are checking out in the system, to, oh, we got to do that still. And by the way, there's not as much horsepower in this machine that we're going to have to tone it down for.
I
So,
think there's a bunch of games that scale better than others. The more realistic you're trying to make the game,
mhm.
they seem to be the games that have the hardest time scaling well to down. And Cyberpunk falls into that category. I think Starfield's another one that falls in that category, which is
Mhm.
why I don't think they announced it even has a. I don't think it has a last gen version at all.
I don't think so. But I mean,
Looking it up.
well, one game we can look forward to possibly being in the announcement is Scorn.
Ooh, yes. I want to see more Scorn. That is a weird
That's
game.
that. Oh my lord, it looks weird as shit. Oh my
It's
lord,
weird. It's weird, but I'm in. I'm like,
it's
if
weird,
I,
visceral, and has sound effects that make me send a shiver up my spine.
it's one of those games that
just for changing your gun. I'm
if
just like,
if I don't, it's one of those games I'll play the whole way through if I don't vomit at some point because it's so gross. Like it looks like an H.R. Giger movie or film or picture. Like he did the aliens design. Honestly, look at that man's tombstone. It is crazy.
Yeah, it. I mean, the gameplay that we've seen so far looks really. I hate to use this because it's going to sound weird, but it looks honestly beautiful. Like at the same time as being creepy and elements of it being gross, but it honestly looks really well done. And so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that, or at least seeing more about it. Hopefully they won't delay it, but if they have to, they have to. Like at a certain point, we got to acknowledge we we've tried to sit on the fence about, well, we want to make sure that um, game developers don't have to spend 80 hours a week developing the game during crunch time, and we want a game that comes out on time at this level of quality. We got to start going, okay, look, game developers can delay.
Yeah,
Let's let them delay.
I
Let
think
them
that
do what needs to be done to the best of that game's ability.
I feel like the thing with Starfield was as they'd given a hard date. Like they didn't go holiday. They gave us a hard date. If they'd just been like coming 2022 or late 2022, holiday 2022, then it wouldn't have been I think
It
the
wouldn't have been
the
as bad.
no, it wouldn't have been as bad.
No.
And I was correct. It is next gen and PC only. So
I mean, I see, you don't. The thing is, you don't know how much is going on in the background. I mean, just as possible, Xbox could have been like, "Yo, Bethesda, so this game, the Starfield, it looks really cool. We're excited about having this on Game Pass, and really excited to announce it at our event. So, what are you feeling like? This, what would they say? November?
yeah, it was November 11, 2022. 11/11/2022.
Yeah.
It was the
So you know, Phil could have come in the room. So Bethesda, Todd, my dude, you feeling November, right? And he's like, yeah, totally. It's internally playable. It could have
it
been
just
Bethesda just
works.
going, yeah, my dude, totally, yes. It good soup. It'll be ready.
like
And then they get to the point where it's like, hey, look, Phil, I know I said November, and I agreed to that, but um, all we have is a sandwich and a robot right now. So
the robot
can can
sandwich. Oh my
can uh,
god.
can you give us till like first half of 2023 to make sure there's NPCs in the game or a story maybe? I mean, it's going to be our level of story, so
Oh,
we could slap it out
okay,
in
there we go.
6 months.
So Starfield
But
was in production for some time. The name was trademarked in 2023, and according to Todd Howard, there's no other name we've considered. It had to be Starfield. Um, it's been going on since the release of Fallout 4, which is 2015. And by
which
mid 2018, the game had moved out of pre production and was in a playable state.
I'm happy
With
they went with the
announcements
shorter name.
at 20.
Yeah, it was going to be really weird saying Starfield. I swear it just works. Believe me, Todd Howard. That was going to be a ridiculously long name
Yep.
and not acceptable. So they
Mm,
went with the shorter name.
yep.
No, I mean, I give Todd Howard crap. I mean, he's an amazing guy. He's an amazing presenter of his product and really good cheerleader for his company, his team, and his product. And that is what you want from that guy.
Do you think we're going to
Um,
see Todd Howard at the Bethesda showcase?
he may not want to be there, but it, this is part of the game. You got this game that you got to delay if you want to uh, be on the side of your team and on the side of your game. You gotta present something. I think they're definitely going to present something. Hopefully, maybe we'll see some actual gameplay beyond the sandwich. Maybe how they made the sandwich. It's possible.
That's
Um,
possible.
I mean, I want to see something. I definitely want Starfield to work. I want the stuff to be awesome. I want to see then, a month or two after they release it, what, the mod community starts doing with it. It's going to be exciting if
Being
they keep with that. But it's not going to be like the 2022 isn't going to be known as the year without games in Xbox. It isn't. Um,
Well, I just
it
don't think that Scorn is the game to carry the holiday season
no,
for for
I
but
don't
it's
think.
coming at they're aiming for October, which is the perfect time of year for a game like that, if
Yeah,
I'm being honest.
yeah. I mean,
And I
it
will
it, it
probably stream it. I'll probably like play a bit of it off stream, see what's up, and then probably stream the majority, if not the whole game, and be creeped out the whole time. I'll even play it on a controller, so I get myself, make it harder.
yeah. I mean, really, the only thing I'm trying to get across here about like Todd Howard and all that stuff is just, I bet you, I guarantee you, the way from every indication, Phil, if Todd Howard said, look, before they went with the announcement for what date they're going to shoot for release, if they went to Phil and be like, look, Phil, I know you kind of were hoping for November, but if we could possibly push it to here, we'd be perfect. And I think Todd Howard and Phil would have been like had a handshake on that, and that's what we would have been going with.
I
Um,
I don't think
it's
it's
understandable trying to
crazy.
get that hype up and get that. Yeah, yeah, it's good, it's good. But internally, if you're more honest about stuff, especially from everything that we're seeing right now, I mean, and I understand Microsoft has been the bad guy in the past, but from everything we're seeing, I see a lot of appreciation for gamers from Microsoft. And, honestly, it may be just lip service, but it doesn't seem that way.
No,
Um,
I don't think
you know,
this was a malicious. I don't ever think anything's sort of malicious. I
oh,
just
I
feel like
don't.
people are acting like it's malicious, like it's crazy, or that.
I honestly feel like it's that typical industry stuff. You have people who are in Todd Howard's camp who are doing their job as marketers of their game to investors and owners in this case to be like, yes, we got this game. It's amazing. It's going to be beautiful. And they get carried away and they go, okay, it's going to be this time. And it might have been something either Todd Howard or someone in the dev team went, yeah, yeah, can you leave me alone so I can work on it? And it might have started as that kind of like side comment, hey, what time do you think you just ballpark it estimate when you think we can release it? Yeah, no, November. Yeah, yeah. And it could have been just that slightly less thought because they're just trying to work on their game. And
Possibly.
there couldn't be maliciousness behind it. It's just a matter of being upfront about the state of your game. People are going to wait for Bethesda. Bethesda still, even though they had that Fallout 76 debacle, they still have a dedicated base of fans. There's still people playing Skyrim, fully modded up, I'll admit, but still
Yeah, people
playing
still play it
Skyrim.
vanilla. People will still play
And
it vanilla, and
yeah,
I don't think there's
and
anything wrong with that. And I agree with you that it's gonna come. It won't be the end of the world. I think we went on way too long on this topic.
so it's a podcast. It's okay.
I know it's a podcast. It's okay. Do you want to talk about the ambassador Xbox ambassador drama, or would you talk about something else? You have something else in mind? Because the
Uh,
ambassador thing was funny to me. I There are people I follow on Twitter that thought it was something silly, but when I actually read what an ambassador's supposed to do, I was like, oh, okay,
they're,
this is
they're
a nothing
trying to
burger.
develop. Yeah, they're honestly trying to develop a community of gamers, and that is to as much degree as they can without being heavy-handed with it is positive. And that's is anybody who's ever spent all of 5 seconds in a Call of Duty lobby can tell you that is an uphill battle
And for those
because
of you who don't know, uh, what caused this whole debacle was a tweet from one of the Bethesda, sorry, not Bethesda, Xbox ambassadors. I think she's based out of Australia, and she's not a big gamer herself, but she supports she sets up local community events for like Halo and that with neighborhood people, like in person and online events for Australia. Takes time out of her day to do stuff, and has a relatively positive following. Made some comment about the previous story. They kind of go together, and how, if you don't run a multi-trillion-dollar company, you don't really have much to say on the matter. And while I don't 100% agree with her on a lot of things, I don't think she deserved the amount of backlash she got. It was absolutely insane. Where like I saw her take, and I'm like, okay, that's a reasonable take for a human being to make. Like,
Um, it's certainly a reasonable take, and you got to
did
understand
you read the
the
tweet? Let me see if I can find it so we can have it, because I'd rather have the
it's
exact words.
yeah. What was her name?
It's Oh my goodness. Everyone's making jokes about it, and I actually think I lost the tweet somewhere. No, it starts with an A, which is very helpful. I know. It's from Australia. I know that much. And okay, I accidentally clicked on Shantae stuff. I'm not disappointed, but that's not what I. Thank you. Thank. But it was one of those things where I saw the like reaction from the community, because there was kind of this divide between the community after the Starfield and Redfall announcement happened. Whereas people like, I guess like me, who is more on the side of, well, let's wait and see what happens at the event, and then I'll pass real judgment, because right now I got nothing to go off of. If you're telling me, oh, we're gonna have a thing in a month, but these two games are getting delayed, that seems to me like we're setting expectations that don't expect these games to be coming out this year. But her comments about, if you it was, I wish I could find it. I can't find it right now. I'm looking for it. But it was one of those, if you can't run a company like that, you have no frame of reference. I'm paraphrasing so hard. You're not one to talk, because there was a lot of entitled people acting like they were some sort of, like they knew it was going on. Like, oh, this is just stupid. There's nothing to play this year. And it's not true. There's still stuff coming. There's always going to be stuff coming. But my God, it was just a. I want to say they sound like they're entitled. I get why people be upset with the delays, since we're kind of rolling into them. But to the point where you're like, I'm just gonna cancel my Game Pass sub. Okay, fine. You said it online to two. Yes, that is it. He found it. That was the one. That's that is her.
Well, the
That
thing
is her.
is, and it's hard for people to acknowledge this, but Xbox game ambassadors are effectively promoted nobodies, which isn't to be a affront to anybody who's an Xbox ambassador or the whole program in general. The point is they're not somebody that's trained in how to do PR. They're not someone who's trained in how to do marketing and talk to customers in a way that doesn't escalate the comment. And the fact of the matter is, yes, game delays, they hurt. We're gamers. They suck. And at as someone who's a consumer of games, yes, you have every right to say whatever you want to say. It may be a dumb opinion, and you should feel sorry for saying it, but you have every right to say it. And yes, gamers again are some of the kind of more bratty elements of the world. There's people that lose their ever loving minds about some of the smallest things. And
Ah,
at the same time, she's not a highly trained college, doctorate, PhD program of customer service. So she probably handled it poorly. I don't see
well,
the
I got the
original
original tweets right
tweet.
here. To
Okay.
those criticizing Phil Spencer for the Starfield and Redfall delays, please consider: one, can you and bold lead and manage one of the biggest brands in the world with hundreds of staff and moving pieces? Two, the pandemic's affected everyone. Three, slow and steady wins the race. And four, he's only human. And then that got her a ton of hate. And it was like, it's a attack.
Yeah, it and the community also has some of the worst takes on it. Oh, she doesn't play games, so she doesn't care. Like, okay.
I don't.
There's a lot of us that have day jobs that don't play games that much comparatively, or we have our select few games and we'll play. And she does have a valid point in that. And that is, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier, is like, what do you want? Like, you got to make a decision. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Do you want crunch to be an out of control nightmare? Period. Answer that question. Do you want crunch to be an out of control nightmare? Do you want somebody go from their normal 40 to 50-hour week to then have 80-hour weeks for about 3 4 months plus 80 hours plus? Like, you got to decide if that's okay. If that's okay, then yes, they should release on time all the time, no matter what. But if you want to say, hey, I want to make sure that game developers don't have to spend 3 to 4 months pulling 80-hour plus weeks, then you've got to admit that, guess what? At some point in time, and often, you will have delays. And the only solution to this is to for the higher ups who are in the company not to overhype and oversell their games. Because, I mean, fact is, Todd said it's internally playable. What do we think when we think internally playable?
They think
We're gonna
playable.
think
Apparently,
the
yeah,
game's done.
people were mad at her mostly because she's only got like 9,000 ish. Yeah, 9,185 gamer score. I'm gonna be honest with you.
She scores higher than me on Xbox.
I don't know. I
But
don't
that
even.
doesn't take
I
into
haven't even looked
account
at
my
mine.
PC playtime.
Well, it's only Xbox One. It would take into account your other one, but what is? Okay, let's look at my profile. Hold on. I'm pretty sure I have more points than you. Yes, I got 44k gamer score. Oh, my level 2. I got a badge for 2, whatever that means. Cuz as part of this little thing, you're talking to 2 newly minted Xbox ambassadors because it's that easy. You just go onto the website and you
Hmm.
fill in the thing and you become an ambassador. It's more it's less about being someone who is a brand ambassador. You're more like an ambassador of goodwill on the Xbox platform. That's what the program's all about. And I feel like that's the biggest issue is that people think that an ambassador as a role means something. Maybe it should be called something else, but because other publishers and that do have brand ambassadors that tend to be someone who is appointed through a system to be a brand ambassador to talk about their thing so they can get free products, maybe codes or whatever to talk about with the community. These are usually people of influence, like a streamer or a YouTuber. Sounds about right to me. Honestly, it just you need the kind of people because not everyone's gonna want to play games.
No.
Not everyone plays games all the time. And the thing is that whether or not she plays a ton of games or not, all that matters is that she, does things for the community that actually give back. Bitching about her take on Twitter, be it good or not good, doesn't help anyone. It doesn't make anything
Yeah.
better. And that's the
Oh no, it
that's
doesn't.
kind of the thing. It's like I have nothing against this woman. Really absolutely nothing against her.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, I think the name for the program is good because you don't like everyone recognizes the name Ninja, but he's not a good brand ambassador. And the reason why he's not a good brand ambassador is he's kind of like the upper echelon of gaming skill.
That would be like
You see
having
that, you go, okay, I can never do that. That's awesome. It'd be like seeing like Usain Bolt, trying to get people to start running.
yeah.
How many people are he going to get to start running track? They're going to look at him. They're going to be like, there's, I have nowhere near enough time, and it's too late for me to ever start running to get even a remotely possible noticeable comparison between me and that person there. So you want people who are ambassadors to your brand who are regular people because the goal is to bring in other regular people. It's a cult like that. And it's like, hey, you want to play this game? And they're like, man, I don't know. That sounds weird. Then they show you this game and they show you that they're just like you playing and making some silly mistakes. And yeah, you want someone with a lower game score to be an ambassador. Um, my point is she may be, there were better ways that she could have handled that diplomatically, but that's not something you should expect from her or
No.
for anybody for that matter who's a brand ambassador because this is just entirely a volunteer program. What
Yeah, it
she's
is.
doing in the background and organizing the, game events and stuff like that, that's important. Um, it, it's always and the thing is there's always the name of the game in Twitter is to have the worst take possible.
So you get the
Always.
most hate clicks,
Yeah.
get your name
Oh
out
yeah.
there. Because the thing is, we wouldn't be talking about it if it didn't happen. So yes, you're 100% right. They got exactly what.
So
I don't know if she wanted to do a bad take for the sake of a
I
bad
don't think
take,
she wanted to, but she got caught in the moment of being like, "Hey,"
and we're
and
people,
like
and that
you know,
happens.
between you and me, like we'd be talking about it, be like, "Well, this is just my take," but then again, I'm not in charge of operating a multi-billion-dollar company either, so I'm free to make really bad decisions,
That's the thing, though. We
possibly.
know for sure. I know for sure that even with Starfield getting delayed, I think we heard something like there's like 40 plus games in the works, not
Yeah.
from the internal studios alone. Like this is just all the Xbox studios. There might be even more than that that are in the works right now, and it it's
Well,
just one of
here's the
those.
thing. I know I said about like crunch and having game developers working 80-hour plus weeks, and I said that in kind of a tongue-in-cheek kind of jest. But think about it.
That
Okay,
happened.
you've got 6 to 12 months of time till the game is possibly going to be released. That was what the delay is. Okay, you can cut it in half, double up their hours that they're spending, plus.
Yeah. Okay, we're good.
The thing is, like I said, you're going with about 12 months till the game's released. unless there's another delay.
Yeah.
So the question is, how do you feel about crunch? Period. Like, the game doesn't just come out from the game fairies. They
No,
don't
it
just,
doesn't. And
bestow upon Bethesda the game, and Bethesda, spends all their time wrapping it up and gift wrapping and then hands it to Microsoft. It's nothing like that. That's hard work, and it takes a lot of, actual coding and art time to develop a game to the point that where we're playing it. And so that the question stands, with 12 months left, you could cut it in half or more by supporting a full on hardcore draconian crunch schedule.
which totally
So
has happened in the past with other very popular games. A very popular Xbox game, one of the very first ones that everyone's ever played on the Xbox, was built entirely off of crunch, and that was Halo.
yeah.
Um,
So
they
the
like showed
question,
off. I think they showed off the game at E3, and it didn't run very well. It was not. People didn't like it because it played really bad. They had the 4-player co-op, and they went into the office, and apparently no one left that office until it released. And I wish I was exaggerating, but that's apparently what happened. They just worked on
I
the
mean,
game and finished it off, and that's
like,
we don't want that. Like that's not healthy.
nobody wants that. Like, and the thing is like that's the question she could have potentially posed. And I'm not saying she should say that. Like I said, that's just what I see that, and I go, well, yeah. It's more than just like, oh, Phil screwed up. He didn't screw up. He took the information someone said to him, and it's like, hey, this game, we're not quite ready.
I
And he
mean,
said,
marketing
well,
would be Aaron Greenberg. And he doesn't care about delays as much. He's just the marketing guy. He needs to know when stuff's
yeah,
coming out so he can market it. He can buy
well,
ad
I,
space. He can
mhm,
set up people to talk to influencers to talk about the game or give the right people the info. That's the thing
yeah.
is people act like Phil's in charge of everything. And yes, he is.
Well,
He's the highest
here's the
level and
thing.
he's the one that's going to talk to Satya Nadella. Is that how you say his name? CEO of Microsoft? Cuz that's his boss. And
Well,
everyone's
the thing is, with any other game, you're totally right. With Starfield, Phil's input was sought after
oh probably. I'm not saying that it's not.
because of how pivotal it is to the Xbox brand and how connected it is to the Xbox brand.
Yeah, it's
Um,
because it's the next big. It is the next big IP for Xbox, and I
mhm.
100% agree. Like it is a
But at the
big
same
deal.
time, like, you present this to someone in the position of Phil, who could literally be like, all right, I'm going to ask for quote unquote voluntary overtime.
Phil doesn't believe in that, but he could. You're right. Like that's the thing.
He's
I
in the
don't know.
exact position, like, literally he answers to the CEO.
Yep.
Like, there's that's
And
it. Like,
Satya Nadella doesn't seem like the kind of guy who likes to have crazy crunch, and Microsoft's been insanely prosperous under him, despite the fact that he spends like ass tons of money on acquisitions and things. Like, I swear, like every week, I've heard them either buying out something, making deals with things. Like, the man honestly just was like, Phil, we got to fix this Xbox brand. And Phil was like, I've got some ideas. And Satya's like, here you go, blank checks, go. Like, the fact that if you look through the because I've been following the Activision Blizzard thing kind of closely because it's very interesting to me just to be like, I love being a fly on the wall and seeing what goes on behind the scenes and reading the documents. And it's like Silent Della was involved in that, like straight up. When all the BS was going on and the stock price started dropping, is like, it's blood in the water. Let's go. Like, I think, and he really cares about his people, like his workers. He cares about because they just like, was it doubled performance based raises and stuff, like the cap or something. Like it's nuts. He like invests in his people. I don't think he wants to like lose people or that. And it's going to be interesting to see how that trickles down to the other studios, because obviously not everyone works
Hmm.
under
Yeah.
the
Well,
belt.
we can all, like, when we hear the word crunch, it has become in the zeitgeist negativized
It's
so
nice.
much, and that's fair. That's fair. Um, but I think you need to start asking the gaming community that kind of hard question whenever they complain about delays, and be like, okay, we could cut it down to a third of the development time. We can get this game can be out in 3 months, because you can have every developer working 120 hours a week. That still gives them 8.5 hours to sleep and eat every day.
Yeah.
And I mean 120 hours they're working every day, 7 days a week.
Oh no,
Like
for sure. It's crunch
like
is
is
gross.
that what you want? Like
Would you want to
go to
do
the
that?
go to the go to the gaming community and be like, okay, I want to see you work 120 hours this week. See what doing nothing but actual production towards something that's not often fun, especially when you're doing it for 120 hours a week for 3 months at a time.
No, because the thing is that with a creative medium, like I've worked 100-hour weeks before, and
Hmm.
they're not fun. They really aren't.
It isn't.
And people can tell you it's like, oh, but the money's worth it. I barely got any extra money from it. I don't have any of that money now. So it's like all the
Like,
stress and all the things I missed out on because I was working 100+ hour weeks mean literally nothing to me now. Like
yeah.
that, like honestly, you're helping someone out in the short term and they never really care that much. If a company wants you to work 100+ hour weeks and you're not doing it because you've got a family to feed or whatever, even then I think that's shitty. You shouldn't have to work 100 hours a week to do stuff, because with
Well, I,
creative
I don't.
mediums in particular,
Hmm.
when you work 100+ hours, how can you be creative when you're basically emotionally stressed and just completely devoid of like I know you've worked 100-hour weeks. I
Yeah.
couldn't I couldn't make anything creative or good after working 100 hours.
Well, the thing is, like, it's not it's if you're talking about 1 week, you work 100 hours this week, and then the next week it's a 40-hour schedule. That's one thing. That's like,
Yeah,
okay,
but we're talking
that's something
like
that can be pulled off. We're talking about 3 months of time, sustained, 120 hours. You're working every day of the week, and you're doing it that way so you can have time during the week to sleep and eat. Like,
no, it's
that's what has to happen. Now,
oh, for sure.
totally give anybody who's in marketing involved with the Bethesda, who has said it's internally playable, totally crack down on people who are overselling and overhyping when the game's going to be there. Definitely criticize them. Be like, hey, you kind of missed the ball on this one.
Yeah. Like, do
But
you
at the
mean like
same
it?
time, Phil going, yeah, I support our developers, not release. I support our developers releasing a
He's,
game on a schedule that results in a game coming out that's good. That's a good thing. I don't understand why anybody in the gaming community is taking this as anything
I
other than
believe his
this is a good
exact
take.
words were, yes, these decisions are hard on teams and make teams making the games and our fans. While I fully support giving the teams the time to release these great games when they're ready, we hear the feedback about delivering quality and consistency is expected, and we continue to work better to to work better to my god, there's so many twos in this. We will continue to work to better meet those expectations. Like,
It sounds like he gets it.
no, I know he
No,
gets it.
no
He's a gamer.
criticism needed of him.
The guy
He
literally has a
understands.
Series S on his desk. So when he's in a meeting, he could be playing a game while he's in a meeting. He's our
Like,
guy. This is
like
our
the thing
guy.
is, I don't understand right off the bat why Phil is getting any crap
Shouldn't get any crap.
from anybody
This is
about this.
this was the same day that Bethesda announced it on the 12th. No,
Now,
honestly, I don't think anyone should get crap over this. It should be disappointment. I expect disappointment, but I don't expect people being like, "Oh, we have nothing coming this year," and be like, maybe you could have softened this blow, being like, "We'll tune into our showcase to see what else is coming this year," or something. That's been the biggest issue with
yeah.
Microsoft and Xbox in general, is the releases seem to be all pushed towards the holiday.
Mm-hmm.
And they tend to not have time to breathe. I don't know if that's just internally how all the games were.
I think that's kind of a holdover too, because
Yes,
usually
yes, I agree with you there.
back
That
in the
was
day, the gaming kind of revolved around
Christmas.
the holiday. It has definitely become much less so
Yeah.
of everybody waiting till like December, or if you have a horror game you want to release it in October, you know.
Well, October's still good for like September, October. The fall is still a good time for a
Mm-hmm.
horror game. You don't want to hit November though, because that's getting towards Christmas territory. But you want to be in that August, September, October range
Mm-hmm.
for horror games. That's the ideal. Unless you're Resident Evil, then you don't care and you release it when it's ready. But I do think you're right. You're onto something with the holdover, because you have to remember a lot of these studios got purchased mid-production, as Bethesda included.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like Bethesda didn't just stop what they were doing to get acquired by Microsoft and then start everything over again. So they're all working towards releasing games in the right period of the year. So we have games 3 years from now in summer. That didn't happen. These games were already slated be to come out in a certain time frame, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Starfield is just the first of many, maybe, that is probably going to be aimed towards a holiday release schedule. But we'll see others that aren't.
Yeah.
The thing is, there's so many studios now that they have that I don't think you want to release all of them then. And they were talking about having at least one game per quarter. And that's
And eventually
doable.
they'll be able to get there. I mean,
Yeah, it just takes management and like setting things up.
well, it takes management. It takes that honesty of being like, hey, this is where the game's at, and if it's playable, that means, I'm sorry, you tell anybody that it's internally playable,
Have you seen
I
the
see it as being like, maybe one generation behind, you know,
have you
uh,
ever seen
what we currently have graphics wise, but you got the story settled out. You got most of the, if not all, the main quest set up. Like that to me is what comes into my head as internally playable.
I mean, Breath of the Wild 1 was entirely playable, but it was basically they did the whole starting zone of the game in 2D top down Zelda mode, working on interactions between things, like chopping down trees and that. Like they had a prototype working like that. That would be technically internally playable, but the game wouldn't release for another 4 or 5 years.
Oh yeah, it could be they have stick figures and they call that internally playable. And be like, well, I mean,
I mean,
they've got
you
something.
could have just
You can play
placeholder
it.
older art assets in there. You could just
Yeah.
put in whatever. But yes, like that's the thing. I don't know what internally playable means. Like I know a lot of people who've made games and have had them internally playable within a week. But you wouldn't want to release that in the public because they're not ready. There's no
I mean,
polish, no anything else.
like one of the biggest, and I think we need to start getting away from release dates and
Release windows,
until
I think, are
it's
better.
just in general, because here's the thing: the way Cyberpunk 2077 started off, they went, "It'll be ready when it's ready." And if they kept that tune, imagine how much easier it would have been for them if they said it's ready when it's ready, and then they were honest with the disposition of the game with their investors.
I do,
Yeah, we would
I
be
don't.
getting it probably about a few months ago,
I can
and it would have been
guarantee
a
you
good
that
game.
some of those investors um, are people at Microsoft, like because they had the marketing deal for Cyberpunk
Hmm.
2077. It was Xbox, and I can tell you for sure if they were in there, they'd be like, yeah, do whatever, like take your time. I honestly feel like delaying the console version would have been a good compromise.
Oh yeah, but see, that's the thing. They didn't like, to all intents and purposes, to every perceivable notion that they could see. CD Projekt Red had a playable game that was finished.
Well, it was playable and it was finished, but it was not ideal on base consoles. Like unless you
Yeah.
had a next gen machine, which it wasn't even optimized for, it wasn't worth
Hmm.
playing on console. And the thing is that I do have the disc with the
But see,
1.0
that's the
version
thing.
on it,
Hmm.
and it's not good. It really isn't.
But yeah, and the thing is to, as far as the investors saw, which understand, put yourself in their shoes. I understand it's easy to look at investors and be like, oh, they're billionaires, so they can lose the money. All right, you've spent $60 on a game, and everything that has been said to you by that company up till now is that it is playable. We're just looking to give it a little bit more polish. At a certain point in time, with just that $60 on the line, you're going to be like, hey, so look, I gave you $60. You say it's playable. You say it's all it needs is just a little bit more polish. Look, I'm not looking for a diamond. I'm just looking for maybe like a bathroom mirror level polish. Can we get, since it seems to be there, release it? I gave you my money. Where's my game? Now, if we go, all right, I gave you $60, and they go, all right, look, PC is pretty much good. It can use a little bit more bug fixing, but it's good. Uh, Xbox and PlayStation 4, the previous generation, it needs a lot more work to get to a point where you're not going to have a buggy playthrough. Um, and we got to spend a lot of time working on that, probably about 6 more months to get to a point where it's like, okay, it's playable. Next gen, it's playable, but it's not optimized for it. We're probably going to spend some more time working on that. If they said that to their investors, I don't think their investors would have been like, well, then release it. They'd have been like, okay, I get it. You do need to release it. It needs, we gave you money. It needs to come out so we get a return.
I just
But
don't know.
I get it.
I don't know who was calling for this. Um, I don't know.
And it might not have been outright spoken that way. It may have been a matter of like, they had the meeting with investors who put the money in. They go, well, this is where it's at, and so it might have been partially the management going, shoot, we told them this date. We also told them it's pretty much done, so we got to release it. So there's that internal mental aspect of it where they're pushing themselves to release it, and then the investors like, yeah, so no more delays. You just had that one, right? They're like, yeah. It
I
might
don't know.
not have been outright said by some investors, so you were releasing it on this date, do it now. But that's the effect of, kind of like
Well, there's a lot
unspoken
of moving
communication there.
cogs
Oh yeah.
in game release. Not even game development. Like game development's its own beast of everything. Like let's be real
Yeah.
here. It's its own beast, but when you're talking about releasing a game, though, there's all sorts of things. You're gonna have cross promotions with other brands. For
Hmm.
instance, let's use Halo Infinite as an example. That like after that delay happened, there was Halo Infinite everything everywhere. Monster Energy drinks, uh, Sour Patch Kids here. I don't know what else. Pringles. Like
Hmm.
everything had Halo Infinite branding on it, even though the game had been delayed. When you delay a game at like 0 hour, basically, or that close to launch, you've got all that marketing. You've already paid for, like you already paid for the marketing on
Hmm.
the product. The product's already made, or the packaging's already made, and the company's going to use it. Whether or not your product's ready means nothing to them. And we saw the same thing with Cyberpunk, is that because they had a deal with Rockstar Energy, and they gave away a Camaro, which is really stupid because we all know Johnny Silverhand has an antique Porsche 911 from the 70s. It's antique now. It'd be even more 50 years, but
He'd be the pretentious one to have like an antique vehicle that's like non-technological.
yeah, of
Be
course he
word.
would.
We'll put that in the same category as NASA punk.
Yes, oh my god. But yeah,
But
it's like
yeah,
it's
it's a bunch of stuff that like there's definitely it's hardly ever just one person making a bad call.
no. I
And
don't even think it's a bad call to delay a game. It's just
no, and I would even go so far as to say, unless there's some other shenanigans going on, it's never a bad call to delay a game. Like all these companies want to make money. The developers want to get their bonuses because a lot of times their bonuses are attached to how well the company does,
sometimes
if
it's
not all
weird
the time.
because gaming. There's been a lot of times where gaming bonuses have been based on Metacritic scores, which I think is
There have been those
bullshit.
times too.
It's bullshit. Metacritic is basically useless for an average consumer to value a game.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it gets used as that, and you get a lot of people throw out Metacritic scores, and I'm just like, unless the scores are like feel bogus, like if a game gets perfect tens from like 10 or more outlets, I'm calling bullshit.
The amount of games that have perfect tens do not match the amount of games that are perfect.
There are no perfect
And
there are no perfect games, but then people be like, but 10 doesn't mean that it's perfect. This is a masterpiece. And I'm like, then maybe don't use a scale. Use words.
okay, I'll say it a different way. The amount of games that are considered a masterpiece by rating do not match the amount of games that are masterpieces, and by any stretch of the imagination. And it's one of those things that we should. Do we want EA? Do we want more companies acting like EA? We can argue. We can definitely, as a community, I don't think there's very many people actually going, EA is a good gaming company that cares about the consumer and the gamer community. No, they don't. They care about how much money they're going to make. And we've like the plus with EA is they're not lying about it. they're,
Sometimes, but like
they're,
then you have games like Titanfall 2 where they literally used it to make their sales
mhm,
look better for Battlefield
mhm.
because it ate into Call of Duty sales.
Which by any stretch of the imagination should not be a shocking development from EA.
Oh man, we released the shooter game in between two colossal shooter game franchises. Or
It's
Titanfall
literally
2.
like
You deserve
you look
better.
at game development Satan and you go, why is he acting like a devil? Oh, I don't know, because he is.
This game development Satan.
I would consider them game development Satan.
They did release they did publish It Takes Two. And that
I'm
guy,
sure Satan at one
come
point
on,
in time.
Joseph Ferris has got balls. He's got balls. He was the guy that went
Uh,
up on stage. He's the guy that made he's Hazelight. He made them A Way Out and It Takes Two and Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. And two of those games are published by EA. And the second one, Takes Two, was published after he went on the Game Awards. Maybe a little bit drunk. Just a little bit drunk. I said, fuck EA.
I mean, I
The
could
man's
say
got
something
balls.
about look. Yes, that does take balls. But at that point, as soon as he did that, he had public protection. Because EA is like, they wanted to fire him, but they're like, shoot, they'll know because it got to us.
Damn it.
But no, I mean, the thing is, like, here's the thing: no company is going to delay for no daggone reason. They want to make their money. They want to make their bonuses. The whole company, the team, everything is geared towards releasing that game in a way that produces the most sales.
Yeah, I don't
Even
even.
indie game developers, like, yeah, it's a passion project, and they're going to take however long it takes, but they're heading towards a singular goal of releasing that game so they can have release something to the world. And yeah, the hope is that a ton of people like the game too, and you make bajillions of dollars, and you go live on a yacht for the rest of your life. But
We should go make
all
other
these
games.
companies want to release games. They want to release those games. They want those games to be good games. Even on the most moneyless concept of it, they want to release good games so people are talking amazed. They're like, "Oh my god, I remember when I played this game and it was so good, and I still remember it years later." Game developers eat that shit up, and
Oh
that's
my
that's
god. Let me tell you, that's their bread and butter. That's what they really
and
care
so
about. Like a
they're
developer
not
cares about.
going they're not going to delay a game for no daggone reason. So if I'm going to support as a default position, either release the game on time or delay it, I will always default to, okay, I'm disappointed, but I get it. You do what you got to do. Delay the game if you have to. Because at no point in time are they just, you know what, Snarky's been looking forward to playing this game, and
I do
screw
own
that
EA
mother.
games though, I have to be honest. Like I do own some.
Screw that mother trucker right there. I don't want him playing my games for another 6 months. Like,
I
they're not
mean,
going to do that.
they might.
I mean, there's some in the game industry that would do that, but they're as a whole, they're not going to do it.
No. And
And so,
that's the thing though. Like when we're talking about, I hate how I know people get emotional because they're so attached to the idea of games. And this is one of the other things that's like boggled my mind about social media in general is when a game hasn't even come out and people are like, this is going to be my game of the year. Are you sure? Because, like, that's the thing. I want to point out that we're talking about Cyberpunk earlier, and I keep a running tally in a Word document on my phone of games I played in a year so I can tally them at the end to make my top games of the year video. And the thing is that I had Cyberpunk on the list for that year, basically at number one because I didn't think it was gonna move. And it did. It ended up moving a lot, and a lot. And for me, it was a lot because of the backlash and the way people were talking about it. Because I was just done with them. And the game that actually won Game of the Year that year for me was Death End Request 2, which you've
mhm,
probably never heard of. It's an anime
vaguely,
horror
I remember
JRPG.
hearing it in passing.
Yeah, it's a anime horror JRPG.
Mhm.
It's pretty good because that's kind of a cool concept to have horror JRPGs. But that's the thing is I can hypothetically think about where a game's going to fit on my list, but it doesn't necessarily stay there. And I'm not going to state that publicly. I'm not going to be like, this is going to be my game of the year. Like, I'm very much going to enjoy Cyberpunk 2077 when it launches. But maybe that's not Maybe it doesn't launch to state that's good. I don't know.
Mhm.
And I'm not
Yeah,
going to be
and
mad about that.
it's just one of those things. Like I don't understand. The thing I don't understand is like if we're looking at it logically and going, okay, uh, you know, crunch is bad. We want games that work, and at the same time, we understand how Bethesda is going to release games, and I get it. We that's become accepted. That's fine, but
I haven't
release
even
a game
accepted it. I'll still hold them to the
in
standard.
a position that's good, and then we'll go from there. Like we can't have it both ways. We can't, as a community, have no crunch and then not have delays without calling them on their BS that happened like a year or two ago. Because none of this stuff gets you don't get to a point of saying, okay, it'll be released on this date without the person who makes that call getting the impression from the rest of his team that on this date it will be good.
For all we
And I'm not
know,
saying it's
what could
outright
have
someone
happened
lied,
is,
but
for all we know, what could have happened is there could have been a catastrophic bug that happened with something
mhm,
and
yeah,
a system, and they've had to rewrite an entire system in the game
yeah.
for whatever reason. And it's like, well, we gotta delay it because
I
what are
mean,
we
we
gonna
know the
do?
old
We can't.
adage in programming where it's just like you fix one bug and now you have two more. So it happens.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure it happens.
some bugs, you're like, oh, I'll get that fixed in a weekend. Weekend comes and goes. You're like, I've discovered 20 more bugs, and the original bug is still there. And so that's honestly just how it works, and sometimes it happens. So like do we want them to release a buggy game that were trying to track down a bug and they really found more bugs, or do we want them to have the time and feel comfortable in talking to us and being like, hey, this is where it's at.
I would rather they be comfortable and being
Yeah,
transparent. Transparency is so much better to me.
well,
And
yeah.
that's the thing. I know they love to surprise us and things. And for me, when they're like, "We're bringing back this IP. It's coming right now," or something new comes out and you just hear about it and it's coming out in like a couple months, that makes me way more hyped.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Like Soul Hackers 2, I know I talked about it last week briefly, but is one of those games that they announced it like out of the blue, and we were like, all right, ready to be disappointed, and then it's like, oh, it's got a PC and an Xbox version. It's like, Atlas, what the hell happened to you? You never do this. But it doesn't have a Switch version.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. I
Mm-hmm.
I I get why people, you want the game to come out, and that's the thing. These games take years to make, and there's NDAs, there's all sorts of things. You're talking about pre-production. It's probably like 5+ years for some of these games.
Oh yeah. It,
So,
it takes a lot of collaborative effort.
yeah.
And just like honestly, for one series, that can be a majority of someone's career.
Oh yeah.
So, like, definitely, I want game development companies and indie developers to feel comfortable in delaying a game if they have to. I understand it's nobody wants it. Nobody. There's absolutely nobody on the table who's like, I want to delay this game ever. And so, to sit there and notice all these other negative things about the gaming industry and then go, well, why are we delaying this game? Like they Phil came down and was like, oh, this guy right here, this particular one right here likes this game. I'm not releasing it yet. No, not gonna do that. And like honestly, every time I honestly want to say, like every time like we see a game development company or game distribution company, which is kind of what Microsoft's acting in their position right now. It, anytime they they create a positive atmosphere for gamers and consumers. I think we should honestly reward them and give them credit for doing that. Xbox is like whoever's in charge of their Twitter is amazing. They're like you honestly feel loved if you follow the Xbox Twitter as a gamer
They
because they're
definitely are
like,
trying to be fun, and it is funny because even they even called out the stupid fanboys like PlayStation's better, and it's like, well, why don't you just go play your games instead? It's like, we see you, but
oh yeah.
you
Oh
know,
yeah, the only people that are happy about I should actually say there is some people that are happy about this delay. And that's because they PlayStation doesn't have anything to go against this. So they're happy that PlayStation's getting a handicap. Yeah, I called out PlayStation fans.
yeah, they're kind of weird about stuff.
Well, for that matter, the super fans. Always, it's always the super
I don't know
fans
if it's
that are
super
they're
fans
kind of
or
the
just the
negative.
toxic ones, the ones that want.
Well, there's always that temptation when you are a truly dedicated eat, sleep, and dream the thing that you're a fan of, whatever that is. Movies, movie series, Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, PlayStation, Xbox, this game company or that game company. Whenever you're like one of those truly dedicated fans, you may start off innocent and have that very reasoned approach to dealing with the world, but you very quickly are drawn into this kind of like pettiness cycle where you're just like, oh, like you should have seen some of the tweets I saw today from PlayStation. It's it's honestly like seeing a jaded ex, and it's
Yeah,
both hilarious and sad.
these guys are. I really wish they would grow up a bit, and but they're like a cult basically, and it's really hard to break them out of this this cycle of like just not being okay with other people having things. The thing is, I'm with a lot of people who are, they always ask for Xbox versions of JRPGs because there are people out there that can't get a PlayStation because in their country it costs like $1,000. It's the equivalent of
Hmm.
$1,000 to buy it there, and that's insane. Oh yeah, just buy it for like the one to two, three games I really want to play when I already have a perfectly good working console. It's not like they're asking for first party games. They're asking for third party games. And I get so annoyed when you go, "Oh cool, is this getting because you have to ask."
Hmm.
Like, yes, there's a collection of green games here. There's blue ones over here too. I do have blue ones. See? There's blue games. I'm not trying to be a fanboy, but it's just really dumb that we have to ask if we're getting a version for Xbox. Because there's a lot of people that can't afford two consoles. They can't afford more than one thing. A high-end PC or a reasonable gaming PC, for the last like 2-3 years, it's been insanely expensive to get in because of the chip shortage. So if you got your hands on a Series S for a reasonable price, you're gonna hope that the games you want to play come to it. And it almost feels like it's a coin flip for what will come and what won't come. And that shouldn't be the case with third parties. They should want to like be on everything to make the maximum return on profit. Ugh. Okay, I think I got too preachy there. Want to finish off with games we've been playing this week?
Oh yeah, we've been playing more of that Overwatch 2.
Yeah, before the beta closed on Tuesday. Yeah, yesterday it closed.
It's been growing on me. It
I
still
really
has problems
it has
to
problems.
me.
I like it better than Overwatch 1. I liked There's things that I liked about Overwatch 2 that they could probably just put in Overwatch 1, like the ping system. I really like the ping system. It's so hard to be like, guys, is there someone over here? And I have to tell you where it is like half a second before the guy kills me. Oh, the widow's up there. It's up over there. You know that place on the. That's one thing. The healer passive. The
Mm-hmm.
healer
Healing
passive.
passive does make it a little bit nicer.
Support passive. It just makes it that I don't have to rely on my other healer who's off sucking the whole other team dry. Look, we know what happens. We know what happens. I need healing.
$20 is $20. Someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it.
DPS isn't doing their job. That
The
happens.
Moira's just all over the place. But yeah,
It starts off, I'll go, I want to play a nice casual game where I just heal my team. And then I'm watching my team do nothing. And then it's just like,
I'm a
you had
healer,
that
but
Thanos moment.
cocks
You had
the
that
Glock.
Thanos moment. And you're just like, fine, I'll do it myself. And
Yeah.
like some people, criticize positioning and stuff. And it's funny because like it depends on the tier, obviously. Like the higher up you go, the more focused they are on who they're going to target. Obviously, a healer is a main target always. And then I
It
got
can
called.
be. You can do other
Apparently,
things.
the new the you were there when I got someone said I was glitching.
Oh my god.
Mercy with her new jump tech. And
Yeah,
it's
so
just
they
like, yeah, I'm
if
glitching.
if no one was following that, what they did is so you've always been able to what everyone calls super jumping on Mercy. It's like a cancel command. I think it's hold shift and crouch. It's there's like if you practice it and you know it, it's you can do it. What
Yeah.
they did is
It,
they made it that you could do it much easier by just hitting crouch before you hit your target, and you'd cancel and go flying up in the air to give you
mhm.
a way to dodge things. And we had a game where this guy's like, "You're cheating and you still lost." It's like, what? Did you not read the patch notes? It's literally in the patch notes that they fixed it. It's like I saw unintentional tech, so that's why you made it easier.
Well, he's a DPS player. They don't have big brains. Yeah,
No.
I'm calling out DPS players.
Oh my
And
god, it's so spicy today.
and anytime a support player has some chance of not being a fish in a barrel to a DPS player, all of a sudden you hear complaints. Like, and this is from a Mercy main, so I know that is like the most casual support players in Overwatch, and I get that. I understand. But when the main complaint throughout is like, oh, Mercy's too hard to kill, so they slow Mercy down so you DPS players have a chance to kill Mercy, because apparently us saying get good to you doesn't fit.
Yeah.
But if we complain about dying, the classic DPS response, we'll get good.
Yeah.
And
I
and and more deflection than anybody's ex ever
no, for sure.
comes out of the DPS community. And it's just,
I
I'm
couldn't
sorry.
believe that we were just like, so you didn't read the patch notes, is what you're saying. I think
Yeah.
they ended up winning the game anyway, but it wasn't.
Yeah, they ended up winning, but it was just like, it was the first time playing it. I was happy that I had a chance to play Mercy and not and be able to support my team without being instantly dead,
Yeah,
because
well, you
that
have a
will
way to run
happen,
away.
especially when you have a good enemy DPS. And I'm not going to knock it. Yes, supports are a high value target, and I get that. All I'm asking for is give me a chance to survive.
Yeah,
Please, Blizzard, I understand you love DPS players. Please
I think
give me a
DPS are just
chance.
easier to make heroes for.
just just give me a chance. I don't want to get more kills than DPS. I don't care about that. Let me survive or at least have a chance to survive longer. And then we went back to Overwatch 1, where you got shot by a Hanzo arrow, and me around the corner, nowhere near in line of sight of Hanzo, takes damage. And I want to understand that one still. That one still has got me a little salty. And I understand. It was like I can't even remember, like 20 or 30 hit points. I just want to know where it came from.
I just want to know.
like
So
I'm just
dumb.
around the corner. There's a Hanzo line of sight of view. It was in Kings Row right after the choke following the first checkpoint.
Yeah.
Okay. No Hanzo in sight from my point of view. I just know he's firing at you because I see the arrows, whizzing past you. I'm just coming up, and I'm like, oh, okay. I'm going to try to support this. Still, like a good 20 meters away from you in game, you die. I take like some damage. I'm like, what?
Yeah, it was just like there was a couple. Hanzo's been one of those characters that's like people get accidental kills on him all the time. They'll be like, "Yeah, I
Oh my
totally meant
god,
to do that." No, no, you didn't. No, you didn't.
they love
I see
Hanzo
where
so
I
much.
see where you were aiming. That wasn't me. I just happened to pop up where it was.
And
Uh,
before Hanzo players talk about how good they are, just understand, hey, maybe if you want to prove you're good, play Widow because she actually has to hit her target, where
there
you have
is
to hit close.
skill involved with Hanzo, but
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
more
Well, skill
with
involved with everybody, honestly. It's just different kinds of skill.
yeah.
You know,
It's Hanzo's got his place. He's not as oppressive in Overwatch 2. Widow also tends not to be as oppressive unless you let her have an insane sightline. Because all the new maps are more open with more cover, and I think they're gonna have to rework some of the older maps because they almost feel
she definitely becomes a problem because like the length of space that she can have lets her not have to really get her headshots to become a problem because it's not a matter of her getting the kills. It's a matter of you taking a headshot and all of a sudden Lucio has a much higher chance of killing you. Who's in your face?
yeah, she doesn't need to kill you. She just needs to distract you so the rest of her
And
team
so
can put it.
at that point, it's a matter of, especially if you play somebody like Reinhardt, it's a matter of, okay, I hold my shield up because I don't want to take another headshot from
If we're
Widow.
talking about a map like Colosseo or
Hmm.
New Queen Street, there's so
I
much
mean,
space. Like even the Circuit Royale, there's so many little like avenues and places to go. The map is so big that you have so many options on how to engage
mhm.
and how to disengage that it makes her not as oppressive, whereas a lot of other maps are kind of smaller and not as like a lot of the older maps feel a little claustrophobic in comparison.
Hmm.
And I think they're gonna have to rework like Dorado and Kings Row and that a bit. Like Kings Row is still a good map, but it's still very narrow compared to something like again a Midtown. How many side trip paths are there in Midtown?
Enough to get lost.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like you can go
It's
Skyrim.
awesome. I do 10 out of not 10, 9 out of 10 for their map design.
We need new game modes and stuff now. That's what we
Oh
need.
yeah. The question isn't like is Overwatch 2 good? It's good. It's a different game because you have to change your tactics. Like I'm sorry, old tactics don't work as well. Um
Some of the like fundamentals still work, like pathing, where to path, like don't path out in the open because you'll get
yeah,
spotted and killed.
that that's definitely still true, but like just overall big picture whole team tactics are changing. And so that's nice to see. But it all is going to come back down to in 6 months after release, a year after release, is Blizzard going to still be releasing content for this game?
The
Like
thing
we'll
is,
play through every event they got.
And the thing
But
is
is
that
it going to like how often are we going to replay something that's the same old mode with a slight tweak to it?
that is definitely the thing. But the first beta was we got Sojourn and we got Push with two push maps,
Hmm.
Colosseo and New Queen Street. And there was a lot of, to be fair to Blizzard, there was a lot of changes to characters in that small, like 3 week window, 4 week window.
Hmm.
And like it was good to see some of that. But now they've taken the game off. We can't play it anymore, which kind of sucks because it was better in some regards, worse in others. I think the power level of characters, and with no matchmaking rating, no MMR in the beta, made it that you got more unfair games.
I
Like there are players that are worse than us, and there are players that are way better than us,
yeah,
and just a little bit better. Like
but there should be somewhat of an equal distribution of players worse than us on our team and players worse than us on the enemy team,
I was
and players better
watching
than us on our team and players better than us on the enemy team.
I was
And
watching people like Five Stack on Twitch, and they were going against like owl teams. Like owl teams would just show up in quick play. That never happens. Cause you, like, I'm not trying to be crazy here, but you should imagine playing against owl players. Like, I just sit down and die. Like, just kill 'em. Like just win, man. I'm not gonna bother.
I honestly think they need to have two different MMRs.
I honestly, I
And
think
I
they should have
think
had a
quick play
competitive.
MMR should be persistent.
I think what I really want, because there was none of that in the beta because there's nothing to build it off of, right? Like you're only gonna be
Hmm.
playing for a few weeks. It doesn't make sense to implement an MMR system because the data is
Hmm.
gonna be useless and deleted by the time the beta is done. It's not a final
Yeah,
product.
that's
We know
fair.
for a fact the final product will have. But the thing is that I think they could have alleviated a lot of it by having a not a real competitive queue, but a competitive rule set queue
Hmm.
where this is the current competitive rule set. Maybe play around with it a bit, see what's going on, because people wanted that. They didn't get it.
Hmm. It, there's a lot of stuff. I look at it as definitely a beta. Again, whether this is a good thing or a bad thing from Blizzard is determined by how they deal with it 1, 2, 3 years down the line, and it's on them. They said they've heard us. They said they're going to make a change, and I hope they do,
Well, they said
and
they
that
have new
they.
stuff coming, and the announcement is just after the Xbox One.
Mhm.
So that's
I
gonna be
mean,
a busy week for us.
if they keep releasing, because I want Overwatch to work because it was a fun game. It's a fun game to play with friends, and it's fun to see the story expanded upon, not through a comic book, which I get it. Comic books are fun, but look, I'm a gamer.
I like
I like my
gameplay too.
story through gameplay,
Yeah, you can't do
through
that in
events,
PvP.
and and I'll play PvP to hold me over till the next PvE event, and that's fine. And it's one of those things where, again, like, are we going to play 25 slightly different iterations of May Snowball Fight? Are we going to play like, is Lucio's soccer
Lucio
event
Ball.
going to get slight different to the change, and then that's it? Like, they definitely dropped the ball on what they could have done with Overwatch to keep it going. And I if I'm being a bit jaded and
I think
kind of
I'm
like
gonna be I'm gonna be honest
overly
with you.
critical, it'd be me saying that it's like Overwatch League, they relied on Overwatch League too much.
They did, and I think that's fair. But I think the other thing about Overwatch is like Overwatch 2 in general is a lot of people like it's not really a sequel. They had like one new character for the PvP and that's it. Like that's all we got. And there's some balance changes.
Hmm.
Maybe you should call it Overwatch 2.0. Like patch 2.0,
Well,
which is what it really is. It that's what it really is. Let's be real here. Overwatch 2 is not a brand new game. It's the same game but with refined mechanics to make it better and different.
well, I don't want to be too critical of them because literally we played in the title a beta with
Mm-hmm.
effectively one game mode
With quick play.
and with which is quick play. And yeah, they had new maps and new stuff, and this in and of itself seems not enough to call it a sequel, and that's fair. But at the same time, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt and looking at it as it's a beta of the next game. And they're releasing. They want to see how Sojourn works. They want to see. They're making major changes to the game in just that one beta version. So you went from 6 players to 5 players. You dropped a tank. You're going from these maps to then you've added maps. You've added a game mode, and then you've also added another player. And that's a ton of changes to then you kind of want to approach that, go, okay, let's get this series of changes to a point that's maybe not good or perfect, but a point that's acceptable
I
before
think
we make any other changes.
I think we were pretty accurate that it was on the rough side. And
Hmm.
if their last dev post was anything to go by, the next beta, because we know there's gonna be another one, they said so. I think we're gonna get 2 or 3 betas total before we get the final game at this point. The final PvP patch. Because I don't think they're gonna box Overwatch 2 until they have the PvE mode.
Hopefully not. I
Do I think there's a team that's working on the PvE mode right now? Maybe. The thing is that
like.
there the PvE mode interests me, but I almost feel like co-op PvE is kind of not Team 4 at Blizzard's because they have no better designation. Is not Team 4's strong suit. The PvE content they put out has been fine. I'm talking about
Hmm.
the there's 4 of them total. There was like the Junkenstein Horde mode thing.
Hmm.
There was Uprising. Was that one? Guess what it's called? And there was the Black Ops one, which was actually had a lot of hype behind it. Like a lot of people were playing it. They got they they put actual like advertising money into it. And then there was Storm Rising, which was the
Hmm.
last one.
Yeah.
And Storm Rising added the crazy new weather system that
Hmm.
we haven't seen since, but that's fine. More or
Yeah.
less, what I want is to see either straight single player content or co-op PvP PvE content that is not just like a mission. You do it in like 10-15 minutes and then your only way to get more out of it is new difficulties. Because to be fair, I think they called them mutations or what, like a mutation or whatever on it that they've had, where enemies explode molten lava or something like that, have been interesting, and they do add some replay value and give you a challenge. But I kind of just, eh, I'll do it a couple times and then I'm just done, And then I'm just farming loot boxes now. I don't want the content to feel like a chore. I
Hmm.
think is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it if they want to, in my opinion, that being somebody who's not the head of a major company, um, I would say bare minimum content wise, they need to do one new story, game mode, something absolutely new, ground up new. Well, effectively ground up new a year. And then they can tweak all the other events. So, like one new anniversary event, they could be like, okay, this anniversary event, we're doing this new thing. And then the Winter Games event, we're tweaking something. And then stuff like that. The bare minimum, they got to do one new a year. And then they have to release new heroes. We can't go through the drought of heroes that they put us through.
I'm
Like,
hoping that they do another hero in the next beta,
I think they will,
and then
honestly.
like, because I'd like a new tank or a new healer.
Please give me a new healer.
Like the
Please,
last
for
one
the
we got
love of
was
all that's
Baptiste, and
good
I
and
like
holy.
Baptiste. He's fine, but it's just we've had the same tools to work with, and there's like always a
I
new
want it to be something
DPS. Like we
ridiculous,
got,
like a healing railgun. You take this healing, you're gonna like it.
I think you do more fun things than that.
Oh yeah, it'd be interesting to see someone who, like, it would be
Well,
interesting to see
we
somebody
have a melee
expand.
healer, as weird as that sounds. We have a sniper healer. We have
Mhm.
a mid-range healer with Baptiste. You have the
Well,
speedy boy. Like
it doesn't
Lucio
have
is
to
argue.
necessarily be a healer.
Well, they have to be able to heal because they
Their designation is support.
their designation is support, but we all know what happens when you didn't have a support that supports.
Yeah,
You got Symmetra, who didn't fit in the game for the longest time until they reworked her just to be straight damage when they got
but
rid of
let's
the
okay.
defense heroes.
What is Zenyatta's main contribution to the game?
Discord and his ultimate are probably the two best things. His healing orb is
Hmm.
decent, but it is set it and forget it.
Hmm. He I would argue that he is not a healer, and he has a good
He
huge
is
support alt, but his main contribution to a
oh
regular
his damage.
team
It's
matchup is
damage.
damage.
Yes,
And it's
I
not
agree.
damage he's putting out, it's damage that he's contributing to being put out
And that's the
in his
thing.
Discord order.
I don't hate Zenyatta for that, but he is probably the closest we have to a support. Well, actually, him and Lucio are supports that don't just are just heal bots
Hmm. I would like
because
to
they
see a
could.
support that maybe could slow down the enemy team. That supports your team, or makes an aura that speeds up your team and slows down the enemy team.
I argue that
Or
you could rework a character like Sombra to be support.
you definitely could, or you can rework
You could
Sim
have
to be a support.
a
She
hack
was really
ability.
awesome there.
Sim Sim as support again. I think would make more sense, but I think it's time to get rid of the turrets. Like wholesale, the turrets need to go. They're like all the turrets. I'm talking about Torbs too. Like I know Torb's turret's like part of his whole shtick and his whole deal, but
Well, I mean, change what her turrets do. Instead, like make it be like something that you can heal.
you could make a
Like
healing field,
he,
or you could make it.
keep
Um,
her 3 turrets, and each turret heals a third of what Zenyatta can heal
you know
with his
what?
regular.
You know what actually be more
And
interesting?
maybe
Like
let it overheal a little bit. There you have that old
Shield.
little nub of shield that she could give out.
Yeah, no one's gonna remember that. No one's gonna remember putting shields on people individually. Why no one played Sim?
Or you had the unlimited where you had like 6 Symmetras all making a shield, or 5 Symmetras
The
making a
shield
shield, and then one
generator. Oh
Reinhardt.
my god.
Oh. You had a
She had
Reinhardt
two
with like
ults.
1,000 HP.
Yeah, shield generator or the teleporter. See, the thing is, if you reworked the teleporter a bit, that if you went through it, you got healed or something, and you reworked the turrets so they did something supportive, like point out enemy targets, like revealed them to people when they walked past them or something.
Hmm.
That's also supporting your team. You could make it auto ping them or something.
Yeah.
Be like, boop boop. Their turrets have
Or
found an enemy. It's like they could be sensors. They don't have to do damage because
or it can see somebody who's invisible.
yep, like they're just like they're sensors more than anything else. And
But make it a
maybe
tight
they
thing, so it's not like you're not making like this whole section of the map Somber can't play. Like I'm not trying to make it so Somber can't play. Make it so it's like, okay, you can use 3 turrets along this choke point,
I
and
think
if Somber
I
tries to
think
go
limiting
through
it to like
that choke point,
2 active turrets or making them have a like
a
a
reload.
duration
Hmm.
will be better because let's be real, Sims turrets are just oppressive. Like they make you just reposition to have to deal with them and let the rest of your team just murder you. Either you deal with the turrets or you get microwave by them. She can throw them through shields. She can put them in like obnoxious places. So you have to like look up to get them. And I know people like the car wash. I know people like Sim, but the thing is that turrets don't fit with the speed of what Overwatch is now. Like Torb's turret is literally the best TPS on most teams most of the time because a lot of people can't hit shots, and his turret does a lot of damage, and he could also do a lot of damage. It's silly. I think turrets in particular are one of those things that need to get gone.
Hmm.
Torb feels like a Team Fortress 2 character because he's based off one that just doesn't fit in the metagame anymore unless you're like really low tier and are trying to get easy kills or whatever. Like being able to throw the turret's fine, but the turret itself is somewhat useful. Like it's an easier counter to someone like Tracer, but like you can limit where she can play. But what's stopping her from just switching to someone else and just killing it? I guess you win then if they switch, but there's not as many modes where you want to be stationary for a long period of time. You want to be in one spot. Like push in particular. Where are you gonna put the turrets to be effective? Like it's just weird. He just doesn't seem to fit. And I feel the same way about Sim. Sim doesn't fit because she's basically a shield breaker, and yes, she can do a lot of damage herself. But like, I think you could make Sim as a support work. It's just they kind of gave up on it.
Oh yeah, it's possible.
You could
It's just
have
one
her
of those things where
replace
it's like
people's portion of people's health with shield health, so it would regenerate
they,
after it was shot.
like the problem is that Overwatch dev team gets themselves into a box, and they they're not in a position or have the ability to really experiment playfully with their game, and they need to. They either need to do that or release new characters at a much higher frequency than they have been, because they need the reworks help save their characters definitely, but the reworks take too long. And the reason the reworks take so long is because they have to do a ton of internal testing and
And there's
constant testing
animation, new
and animation.
animations, new
Like
this.
Like the animations, that compared to all the other things that have to go into that gameplay of development for that rework, it is almost secondary. I mean, the animation that does definitely take work, but it they put themselves in a position that they have to do it all internally, and then they come out with some ridiculous reworks. I love Mercy, don't get me wrong, but when I saw her rework, I was like, "You're serious, right?" Uh, I mean, okay, if you want to let me have 25 reses in a match, fine. And I don't think 25 reses in a match is a fun experience for the other team. At the same time, like when that first rework, it either I say again, I'm probably jaded and I'm probably being overcritical, but it honestly felt like the Blizzard dev team giving Mercy players a little, okay, you're awesome, just so they can then nerf her into the ground, because anybody who played that first week when
Oh,
they
she was broke.
released her rework, she was ridiculously, contemptuously, absolutely, horrifically over broken. Like there should not have been a time where Anna goes, "Hey Mercy, here's a nano," and then Mercy goes and hunts down the enemy team, all of them.
Yeah.
It I mean, it's visceral and it feels good as a Mercy player, sure. But that should not have been a thing that is like, yes, this is something that you can do. It should be a meme. It shouldn't have been something that, yeah, you can get this done.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. Mercy in particular is a character that has been all over the place in power level because she's good, because she's bad. I don't know.
It'd be interesting. One of the things I heard concept wise, I can't remember from whom, but give her like one of the powers be a boost, a damage, healing boost. Like she can be pumping healing into someone, and then she sees, oh, you know, extra excrement is hitting the fans, and she gives an instant like 50 or something like that. Like,
If they're below
boom.
a certain threshold, that could work. They changed Baptiste's near the end. They changed Baptiste's regenerative burst that it does
Hmm.
50 instant and then 50 over time because it was too
Yeah.
slow otherwise. And yeah,
Oh
that
yeah.
that makes sense, and that's good. So I don't think they're against that idea, but
They need to do something similar to that, because just boosting Mercy's overall damage or healing isn't going to be a solution. Because it you need to have gameplay be king.
yeah,
And so you got players like Anna. She has to hit her target. Gameplay is king for Anna. Cool. You have to have, you got the Baptiste, how they reworked him, where he can hit his healing, what
his
was it,
burst,
aura?
regenerative
His
burst.
burst. And boom, you're back up a little bit. You got a huge burst, and then you got one over a little bit of it over time. Cool. Gameplay is becoming king. Um, you, with Mercy, you lasso yourself to a player, and then you just kind of, you're playing management simulator with their healing. And I would like to see them give Mercy a bit more, like they started to do it with her ability to evade with the rework of how they did the super jump, but give her a little bit more gameplay elements to it than just, all right, I got healing pumping into you at a consistent rate.
She definitely is good in a better state than she was, but
Hmm. Yeah,
that
but she
that's the
she
thing is you're gonna
she
have if you keep
well, gameplay is getting so quick paced with
yeah.
Overwatch 2. So whereas you can in Overwatch 1 kind of back off and then regroup, you usually don't, but you can. With Overwatch 2, it's you get the feeling that it's all or nothing every team fight.
Yeah.
And so you need to give her. I would even go so far as to be like, I'm cool with her having less overall, the consistent healing and more like pops of healing that she could do.
You'd have to have it set up a certain way so it doesn't just like become oppressive. But yes, that's like the first few seconds will do more if a target's low, and then it will be slower after that. Like it'll give them an instant whatever, and then you have to stay latched onto them a little bit. It just becomes slower.
Yeah, and like give it a gameplay element to it, so it's not just like, all right, she's lassoed to someone, now it's going to just happen. Like I'm okay with gameplay being part of it. In fact, I
We have
encourage that
like a
because
overcharge almost mechanic you're talking about. Like you can just pump more healing on like a
yeah,
cooldown maybe.
I'd be even okay with her dropping the whole damage boosting and having that do something else.
The damage
Either
boost
like
the damage boost feels like an old mechanic at this point because it kind of broke the game for the longest time.
it did,
And
and
well,
then
I
they kind of nerfed it into the ground, which I'm not against that. I get it. Um, but as it is, the you got to understand. Like I understand that people see play people who play Mercy just healing, and they're going, "You need to damage boost them. You need a damage boost." It don't feel like you're doing anything.
damage
Like at
boost
least
is like what
you
10?
heal someone, you see like their health bar, and you're like, I am doing something. I'm actively doing something. You damage boost someone, you might hear them hitting somebody, and you're like, okay, I'm doing kind of something, but you don't know what that is, and you can't overdo damage boosting because then you make her even more of a problem than Zen is, and she's way
Yeah.
too good of a healer to be also damage boosting. I would say it'd be nice to make that be like that burst where she gives you a shield. She does that thing
Oh, she gives you like
um
a
that
gives
Sim
you
used to do,
temporary.
where she hits you that with that, and there you have a shield.
It's just temporary health now.
Yeah, and you can make it go into some other element that then when you switch back to healing, there's your burst of healing or something. Give it a gameplay element, however you're doing it, so it's not just an automatic thing that happens. That way, it feels fun to play Mercy, and it feels like I get where people are coming from
Yeah,
with
see the thing is if you
Mercy's
take
original res, where it just felt like she just came in, flipped off the middle finger to all the enemy team, rezzed her team, and then just like walked out like a boss as the your now fully res team just utterly destroys the enemy team. I understand the
Estrez was not
frustration
broken.
with that.
It
It
was
wasn't
not
broken, but I understand the frustration because what did she do? Like gameplay wise, she swooped in,
press Q.
pressed Q, and walked out.
Yeah.
like like that doesn't feel like good gameplay, and I get it. It was fun because it really felt good because usually you waited till that time where they started celebrating, and then you came in and res the whole team, and their celebrations become cries of horror, and
Yes.
you go to sleep at night with that, and that just feels good. But
I remember vividly playing in the beta as Mercy and a McCree. Sorry, the artist formerly known as McCree. Um, high nooning the whole team, and then I swooped in, res the whole team, and the guy's like, "It's like I just deleted your ult. How does that make you feel?" You know, that's basically what you did, and that's before she had um it on a button and her new. I don't dislike her new ult. Like Valkyrie is pretty good.
no, and I'm not at this point. I'm not even talking about like a major power shift. Just give her something that she can kind of do burst healing,
There would be knock-on effects though
but
if
make it
you
a gameplay element. Like it. what I'm thinking of is like do
Hmm.
something like how Doomfist, he gets more powerful as he absorbs damage in Overwatch 2, for anybody who's confused.
Yeah.
And so make it be like that damage boost is some damage absorption. Okay. There, she's storing up some damage. She's storing up damage that she's going to turn into healing as a burst. But you got to do it at a certain time. Make it so it's like she can't just stay on damage absorption the whole time. I'm cool with that too. Like I'm just keep you want to keep certain elements of Mercy the same. You want to keep her core healing
I'm gonna be
kind of the
honest.
same.
If you take away her, hypothetically speaking here for a second, if you take away her damage boost, you instantly make Farah a lot less viable than she already is.
That's it. Far as viability, at least in the lower tiers, is more her ability to be up in the air constantly, and nobody looks up. That's like you're not
No, for
with with
sure, you're not
with
wrong, but
professional players being as good as they are with uh game the player mechanics of it. You've got two one shot kills heroes that Farah does not go against. She doesn't go against with Mercy. She doesn't go against with pretty much anybody very well. Like you have to be super creative when it comes to your positioning and dropping on people with Farah in
yeah, you don't
upper
play her on
tiers.
every map because she's not good on every map. She's very map dependent in the pro tier, and that's 100%. I agree with. I agree with that 100%. But that's the thing is that if she doesn't have the damage boost, that suddenly
Mhm,
makes Farah not as deadly, and you don't want to be attached to her as long, which could be a good thing because let's all be honest, a Farah with a Mercy attached is a pain to try and kill if you're the only one trying to kill them.
mhm,
And that's the thing is usually as someone who plays on a lot of time, I have to end up shooting down the Farah
mhm.
or the Mercy because no one else will do it.
Well,
And then
see,
the
the thing
team
is,
suffers.
already the in about gold tier,
Yeah.
and you probably start getting it starts shifting in platinum, but gold tier Farah can be played on every map. And the reason why you would have to switch off of Farah, if you're a somewhat decent Farah, the reason why you're switching off of Farah is not because of the map, and it's because of a player's, you know,
Ability to just shoot you out of the sky.
yeah, taking you out. And so it like they'd be able to take you out on a map that is perfect for Farah, and they're going to be able to take you out on this map too. So usually, like at least in gold tier, it's the reason you're having to switch off of Farah is because the either the enemy team is getting the rest of your team killed before you can do anything, thus you're being ineffective in the game, or the enemy team's got a player that's just shooting you out of the sky, or two. Happen that's two sometimes. But like in pro tier, she's not she's going to be very map dependent because it's going to be how creative can you be on any given map
I
with
was actually
Farah.
surprised how many times we saw May in the pro tier.
Hmm.
Because May has been one of those characters that's been not very good. Honestly, her rework feels much fairer than it was. She's really
Yeah,
deadly though, and you don't want to be left
she.
alone with her.
The thing is like you think you're moving around a lot as Farah, you're not.
No.
You don't have a lot of good shifts of movement. And if they wanted to make rework Farah, I think that's what they would have to do is give her a bit more movement shifting
Oh, you mean
abilities
like Echo's
in a
got?
3 dimensional, um, more 3 dimensional than Echo is, but Echo similar to Echo's. Give her the ability to move left and right instead of
Farah
just
is
up and down.
okay. So I'm gonna say something about Farah, and that's gonna probably lead into the next thing we're gonna talk about. Next game we played, we're gonna talk about. But Farah basically feels like to me is someone played Quake and they remember rocket jumping all the time. We're like, What if the character flew?
Yep.
So we made you play through all of the original campaign of Quake last night as our massive transition there.
It felt like old home week.
It was
I
pretty
remember
good.
I remember playing it, like I said, while we were playing it in graphic communications class in high school.
Yeah.
That
The thing is that it still feels really good. It plays really well. Considering it's like
and
the granddaddy of every 3D FPS game out there. And we haven't even
and
played the
that
new campaigns.
that's true. And I played it in animation class, and we had a sub one day, and she's like, "Are you guys playing a game?" And we're like, "No, we're working on an animation." And I've never seen someone buy such an obvious lie so hard. Or not care. She was a substitute. She might have been just like, what the heck ever. As long as you're not being crazy, we're good. I'm gonna go over here and drink
Yeah,
my rum and coke.
yeah, whatever. That's the thing though. It the thing is that like we were playing it like 3-player co-op. So
Hmm.
and we put it on nightmare, so it wasn't the hardest difficulty. And there were some times where the game did mess us up, but the first campaign was like a joke. A real joke. I don't know. It was definitely fun to play through it again. And I do look forward to going through the new Machine Games made the new campaigns for it, I believe. Both of them are by them.
Mm,
They're very different, trust me. I've gone into them for a bit, but I haven't gotten too far
yeah.
in them because I never owned the two mission packs.
Hmm.
And excuse me, and you get all those with the modern version of Quake. So they're all right there. So that's something else to look forward to. So I still haven't beaten those, but those added weapons and things, like I played a bit of it. I like Quake a lot better than Quake 2. Quake 2 is, if id Software is really bringing back a classic FPS single player game, I want it to be Quake because Quake's got the atmosphere. Like just regular Quake, not Quake 2.
Yeah.
Quake 2 feels like a by the numbers game. Quake 4 was pretty good. Did you play that one?
Quake 4,
Yeah, it
back in
was
the day again.
the one Raven did for.
Hmm.
It was a 360. I want to say it was a launch title, very close to launch, and it was also on PC. Maybe we'll see it come back one day to be able to play. I think you can get it on GOG. Anything else fun you've been playing this week?
No, I've been working.
I,
uh,
nothing else?
I just fell into this Twitter hole of bad takes on that
Oh
Twitter
no!
user that you were talking about earlier.
Stop
And
it!
it's just like, oh my God, what is going on, people? Come on.
They
Just
can't. I can't help
eh,
it. I finally wrestled my copy of Elden Ring away from my brother, so I played some more of that. Man, still it's still good, but still hard.
oh yeah. Well, it's a beautiful game. Like give him I'd give him some credit on that because definitely they put together a really beautiful game with that. Um and it's just in general I like seeing more of the games where you can see love and care some artist put or some team of artists put into just the background and you're just like yes, I want to exist for a moment in your world.
That is the thing about Elden Ring, though. It definitely, and why I 100% think that at the Keeleys, as everyone calls it, the Game Awards, it's gonna take home the Game of the Year. There's no question in my mind that it's gonna do
If
it.
there's any justice in the world, totally,
Well, it should. It
because everyone gave like to talk all this smack about Elden Ring, and it's like understand this is coming from somebody who hasn't played it, just watched other people play it, and I'm like, I don't understand why y'all are hating on this because it's a beautiful game. It actually just works,
it's
and
got.
people are
I don't want
having
to say.
fun.
I don't want to say it actually just works because there are issues with it, and there have been issues with it. But for the most part, it did. It is very stable. I've got the Xbox version here, and it
Oh,
does not quite hit a solid locked 60, but
well,
that's nothing new
it's
for a
as
From Software
stable
game.
as any other game in that they're people are comparing it to. It
Yeah.
is exactly just as stable, and it's just like the I generally enjoy when game companies put together an intellectual property that they have a lot of care for, and I understand that sometimes you're going to get a little snobby about other intellectual properties out there, but at the same time, you all the games that are developed are at some point start off as somebody's baby.
Oh, for
That
sure.
somebody somewhere actually loved this concept, for better or worse, because there have been some game concepts that is like maybe look maybe you should have kept your legs closed on that one. Just
Just a
like
little
just let
bit.
that
Yeah.
be a dream and then move on.
Yeah.
And so and but at the same time it's not just me that's playing these games, and like certainly there's some, and understand I'm not talking about games that are even remotely popular. I'm talking about like some of the really weird like darknet level games where you're just like, what what were you trying to do here? Like it looks like you started off wanting to make a horror game, midway through you found a hentai novel, and then at the end you were about to pass out. What what is this?
There are weird games like that for sure.
Yeah,
And
and those are the games that is just like, yeah, you sold this, yeah, uh, how?
for money. You wanted money for this. Hard
People
earned
actually
money.
gave you money, not like pocket lint or you know bottle caps.
Yeah. No, I agree. There's a lot of weird games that are out there. But
Like I'll give the storyline for The Last of Us 2 crap because it was a terrible storyline that made no sense. And but at the same time I can look at the beauty of the world and go, yes, this was, there was somebody in this development that loved this game, absolutely loved this game, and as it should be. And even what is Elden Ring, Dark Souls, all these games that are like considered like super hard, or you know that's the meme at least, they're still like really beautiful games. Like it's shocking how much beauty is in these games that you're supposedly about like 10 seconds away of throwing your controller through the wall. But that's why I like watching these games come out, and that's why I want. That's what's so exciting about Starfield coming out, or hopefully coming out eventually, um, because you're gonna see first, you're gonna see Bethesda's vision, and they are okay at writing lines. They're okay at writing quests. They are exemplar at making huge worlds. So right off the bat,
they
they're
make
they're they're
decent
they're
though.
painting a huge world. They they do more than make decent worlds.
I
They
have a
do
lot of
they
problems with
go
their worlds, but I've been spoiled by really good open worlds, so a
well.
Bethesda
See,
open world is not as appealing to me. But
I'd put
that's
them on
okay.
S tier.
A tier
Like,
maybe, but
because
okay. If we're gonna rate open worlds by company,
hmm
the bottom of the ring has to be Ubisoft because all of theirs are like by the numbers. This many things you need. This you need all these watchtowers to go get map, so you can map out things. Like
well,
Ubisoft is literally the checklist style open world.
yeah, and a lot of times they're not even really open. They'll
Or
be
they
like,
are
"This is an
open, but
open world
they're just
where you can
copy
only go
past
in
it.
this space."
So that's the thing. I
Like,
don't mind when a scope of a world is limited. And that's the thing.
oh, I
There's
don't, I don't, I don't mind it either. It's more a matter of like having a term mean something. Like open world should mean it. I can go anywhere. Like,
that's
say it's a huge world. Do what you have to do to make a good game.
I'm gonna be
Be
honest
it
with
make a
you because you mentioned Dark Souls, and Dark Souls has never had an open world until Elden Ring. Elden Ring has been the first one with a truly
mhm,
open world. But Dark Souls had this. I don't want to say thing, but it's like Dark Souls has if you can see it, you can go there
mhm,
kind of deal. So if you're on top of a cliff or something, you're looking down, you see like a castle or kingdom down there. You can go there. If it's
mhm.
on the if you can see it, you've either been there or can go there.
Mhm.
And it's refreshing because there's a lot of games where there's set dressing.
Yeah,
Maybe that's not rendered in real time where you're actually going, but there it is and you
yeah.
can get there. And I have finished 2 of 3 Dark Souls games. The third one's just suffering feeling. Like they made it harder for the sake of being harder instead of making it better.
I, I mean, it's one of those things. Like, here's the thing I remember about Skyrim, and when it first came out, and the first time it had VR support, I remember Jacksepticeye, who has a fear of heights, playing that game and screaming his head off because he got up on the mountain and you in VR you look like you're on the top of a mountain. He's afraid of heights. So it's like the thing is like that's where they excel at, definitely, and it's excelled to the point of noticeable with Bethesda. Um, the lines in the story are always you will always find a line that you're like, wait, what? I'm sorry. What did you just say to me? And there's always going to be story quests that you're just like, okay, you did better than your Fallout game on this one, but what? And
Their story
it
writing is always their storytelling is always in my opinion.
they they definitely always thus far has always had a room for improvement. We'll put it that way. Definitely has room for improvement.
Obsidian had better writers.
Yeah, but
That's why I like Fallout New Vegas so much more than Fallout 4 or 76 because New Vegas the characters and the clans actually felt like they were like real people or had real
mhm.
problems. It felt grounded in the universe.
And the thing is, you're going to see you're going to first see Bethesda's vision, and then about a month or two later, you're going to see the mod community's vision if they still support modding. Now, I haven't seen anything that says outright, yes, we support modding, although I also haven't looked. So I'm going to start looking for that and maybe even email some people, strongly worded emails. And, but definitely, like, that's their big strong point. Like, if they drop modding support, I don't see Bethesda doing so well, honestly.
It really
Because
depends. Let me just check quick on the Game Pass app if Skyrim indeed has. mod support on PC. I would assume it does.
Well, in the least, it has mod support internally. Wait, no, not Skyrim. It's Fallout 4 that has mod support internally. Um,
This is
with their
the special edition version they have here. Uh, yeah. No user reviews. I guess people will play it on Steam if they wanted.
oh yeah. Well, it's probably going
But
to be one of those games that I buy on Steam. I'll definitely try it on Xbox. I'm definitely willing to try it there first and go from there. But I mean, just to consider like the size of their modding community. The Skyrim, the original Skyrim, not the special edition, but we'll talk about that in a second. The modding community has put almost 70,000 mods out with nearly 2 billion downloads. Skyrim Special Edition has nearly 50,000 mods with nearly 1.5 billion downloads. Fallout 4, nearly 43,000 mods and nearly a billion downloads. You, you, and this is you look down the line of places like Nexus Mods, and you're looking at the main um, IP properties of that Bethesda has released,
no,
and
and for
how
sure,
much interaction you get in those games. Just interaction, straight people playing it, modding it, playing those mods. How much they stand to lose from not supporting mods. It is a massive amount of loss to them, I think.
I know there have been games on Game Pass and the Windows launcher that have supported uh, mods, but they've been kind of few and far between. So I do hope, for the sake of everyone, that mods are there
Mm-hmm. I mean,
for everybody.
I I understand it's a hard thing to do, but I don't see them as losing anything by having mods in there. There's not like this sudden gain
I think they're
because the people
I think they're gonna do it the way they did Fallout 4, but have the mod store and the curated list,
they're
which
they're they're
so
gonna have nearly nothing out of that.
maybe
Like
not. I don't know. Like the thing is with the mods, like yeah, there's gonna be the ones where people make the nudie mods or whatever. There's always someone who will make the nude mod. Like, let's be real, it's gonna happen. Rule 34 must exist. Someone's gonna make a mod where you can bang the robot.
mhm.
It has to happen because there was one in New Vegas. What is your pleasure? And I think if they do the mod support, that's probably be the best way to do it. But like there were mods the for Skyrim on Xbox that before the no Skyrim Fallout 4 before the 60 FPS patch was live that you could download a unofficial 60 FPS patch on the Xbox. So I don't think that store is completely useless. And I don't think that Nexus mods is going to be going away anytime soon because people aren't going to want to do it that way.
Well, if you break down the numbers, I'm getting more numbers in here. So you look at what they're making out of the mod store, right? So when Skyrim did a free for all weekend thing,
Hmm?
the mod sales represented less than 1% of their Steam revenue.
Oh, I'm not talking about paid mods. I'm talking about because
That
they're free mods
there's
on
some
Fallout
free
4.
mods, but like that's how much money they're making off of it. And
I
the
don't know.
thing is, you have all those. all those numbers from Nexus mods, right? 1.5 billion internet downloads here, nearly 2 billion downloads here, is just 8% of the Skyrim audience.
For
That's
sure.
and the thing is, the people who are doing that are being vocal about it, except the ones that are going to Lover's Lab. They're not vocal, but that's for a reason. The
I
ones
mean,
that
I
are
don't care
at
if
the
these guys
Nexus
want
mod
to
are
do
definitely
if
well.
the
Just talking about the vanilla, not, well, I call them vanilla, the not sexy time mods. I'm talking about just the regular mods that either make there be weather patterns in your game, or change the vegetation to make it look different, stuff like that, and weapon mods, different stuff like that, and they then have DLC mods which change the whole game. um that's being that's being done from that 8% of their total Skyrim audience. And every time one of our friends starts doing mods, they're telling us about it.
I just hate that Skyrim kind of feels like
Like
a
hmm,
sorry, like a thing that has to be use me.
modded.
Yes. And at this point it kind of feels like a game has been modded. Okay, so
Um,
there are paid mods on the Creation Club.
hmm they're not all paid mods, and you're right there, but it's one of those things where it's like the sheer volume of content and the amount of people who are, like I said, being very vocal about a Bethesda game are solidly in not the pay, not the Creation Club area. Um, and the thing is like, I understand. The thing is, Creation Club, at the end of the day, only hurts them reputation wise, because people hate Creation Club, and some of it's good reasons, some of it's absolutely terrible reasons. All in all, it's not for you know solid good reason
A lot of the
in
stuff on
general.
here seems like um it's stuff made from internal studios. Let's see. Oh
Well,
wait, sorry.
the
Wait.
concept,
There's a mods tab. I was looking in the wrong spot.
yeah, the
Okay.
concept of it is that it's the modding community with direct Bethesda support,
Commonwealth responder
and that
76.
on paper sounds amazing. But then when you take just like the interaction and then the absolute vitriol hate that they have gotten about that, and I guarantee you, the Creation Club does not see near the numbers that Nexus mods will see.
No, this is just the mod. Sorry, there's a separate mods tab. I haven't played this on console ever. I was just looking through it. I'm just streaming it to see what there is to see here. Uh, there seems to be a decent amount,
There's
but even
definitely,
the
yeah,
most
there's,
popular one here, like there's a cheat terminal, seems to be the most popular one here, and it's just under 1 million downloads.
yeah.
But a lot of them are
Well,
marked as Xbox. Um,
popular
Tragedy in
all time.
Paradise, Xbox One, no DLC. K9
So,
Hardest, tactical body armor for dog meat.
so sort by downloads.
The
All
Machine and
right.
Her. What is this?
Okay.
Oh, oh, there you go. It's a 4 to 5 hour DLC, fully voiced companion. Wow. Okay, so
So you said 1 million downloads, right?
just under 1 million. There's some other ones here that are like 600 and so.
So all time downloads. The top five, you have Sky UI, which changes the user interface for it, 24.3 million. Skyrim HD 2K textures, 24.1 million. Uh, you look at Forest new idols, it's just new idols for how different NPCs, 21.9 million. The Apache Sky hair, which adds a bunch of different hairstyles to it, 14.9 million. There's a high resolution texture replacer called a Middenborn Book of Silence, 13.5 million. Before we get to, I have to go down, that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 5, 30,
Oh, is this what I
35,
think it is?
40.
I want the actual Mandalore arms. I wouldn't want them. Like, again, we have to realize this is a much smaller user base than
Oh yeah, that's Fallout 4. Let me look at
yeah.
that.
I'm looking at Fallout 4.
The, the
Honestly,
Fallout 4.
just looking at this, like, there's decent downloads here, and I think the some of the things good. Let's see.
So, top 5 for Fallout 4. Armors and weapons, keywords, community resource. It's
Wait.
a master file to standardize framework.
Oh,
That
oh,
doesn't count.
there's a 2 gig limit on mods. It seems here. Interesting.
Most of them are under a gig.
No, I mean like total. You can only run so many
Most.
mods. You have to be under two gigs.
Well, that's understandable. The reason for that is because a lot of those are designed for console. That's why you'll see a cheat console, because Xbox and PlayStation you can't. Well, Xbox because PlayStation hates gamers
I
and
don't know if
doesn't
the
like modders.
I don't know if the PlayStation one I think does have the mod store, but I think it's more limited than the Xbox one.
Oh yeah.
But that's
Um,
but again, I'm not looking at the PlayStation one. I don't want to it
but like with Fallout 4, there's you still on the first 20, you still have over 2 million downloads.
and that's fine. I'm just
At its
saying that
lowest.
I don't think using the mod tab is a bad compromise because I honestly hope that um with the way they're being, I hope they keep supporting that because people love the mods. Like that's what keeps Skyrim alive and people playing it. It's whether or not I like it or not shouldn't factor into it. And that's why I'm kind of interested to see what Starfield's going to be like because honestly, I am not hoping because I never want to hope that a game is bad. I just don't know if Starfield's going to be for me.
Well,
Which is
that's the
why
thing.
this delay that's been the whole theme of the show because we keep talking about it has been one of those I just don't it doesn't bother me.
Well, that's the thing. We haven't really heard much about it. We've heard
Yeah, I know
nice
nothing
little
about it.
flash words like NASA punk and internally playable, but
Sandwich.
sandwich, a
Sandwich.
robot. Uh,
Robot. We've
that's
heard the
all we've heard
robot.
about it. We
We've heard
know
the
it's
robot.
going to exist in some iteration of space.
Yeah, and I'll be able to play it on my controller or my keyboard and mouse. Like,
Yeah.
I really don't know much else though. Like, there's like
See,
maybe I get to fly around. Like, is there space combat in it? I don't know. They haven't shown me anything.
that's the thing that makes me concerned about it, because Bethesda isn't particularly well known for keeping secrets, but and I'm trying to figure out if it's just, my memory playing tricks on me, or they've actually been like more secretive than the CIA on this one. Because
This one,
it
this is
really
about
feels like
the
there's nothing
same.
there.
Is almost the same for what we saw with for Fallout 76,
Mm-hmm.
where Fallout 76 was basically just announced at the E3 that year, and then it came
Mm-hmm.
out afterwards. Now, I don't I don't hate that approach, but the only reason I think they even talked about Starfield is because people online were talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they've been like, I don't know how you guys found out this existed. Because I think that's what Todd Howard said. But our fans are so dedicated that they found out about this game because they want to know what's coming next, and then they announced Elder Scrolls 6.
Well, they definitely the one thing that the CD Projekt Red did really good until they stopped doing it really good was just it'll be ready when it's ready. And
Yeah,
the longer any dev company can do that, and then just occasionally release some content about it. That's all you got to do to keep hype up is just occasionally release content about it. You definitely don't want to go too far out because I mean I felt like I was a madman talking to people about Cyberpunk 2077 because for like 5 years they had that really amazing trailer and then it's ready when it's ready. and nothing
yeah.
else like radio silence. So it did like you want to give a little bit more content. You don't want to sell the house. You don't want to give too much away. Leave a lot of the storyline out of it. Just kind of show the world, show maybe some character. You don't have to show like storyline. You don't have to reveal storyline. Um don't don't ever until you have a game in hand that you are like this is coming out on this, like I could sell it right now and be okay with that. Don't put a release date until you have something close to that, depending on how far out. Like if it's 6 months from now, until you have a game that's ready to release the second you give that release date, don't put that out
That's
because you're going
that's on the
you
marketing
have to.
team or whoever decided that that was the date it was coming out. Because the thing
Well,
is, for us on the outside, if you never tell us a release date, we're like, okay, when's it coming?
yeah,
And the thing is, when you're
like
like, it's coming out at the end of this year, and then it doesn't
and
come out, we're like, okay, I guess it's coming out next year.
the crazy thing is like it's going to sound insulting what I'm saying, but us gamers are simple folk. You don't even have to reveal story. You don't have to tell what the game is about. Because look at Starfield. We have no idea what this game is about, but we know we've seen a damn sandwich. We've seen a robot,
You want to
and we're
see something
excited about
else?
these things. Like, is this story about making sandwiches in space with a robot? No, or at least I hope not. But
Oh, we're
no,
gonna go play that mini game from Space Quest 6. I can't
but
remember which one it was, but remember you had to go work part time at a space burger place.
I'm just thinking job simulator.
Starfield is the new Space Quest. Nailed
But
it.
like the thing is the problem that they had is they had a release date. They should not have done that. I and I'm honestly doubtful of the internal playable status that Todd Howard was talking about, and that might not be fair of me, and I'll own that to be like that's not fair of me to say that about what they've been doing, but at the same time, like you've got this game that is so called internally playable, delayed, and we have no content other than a sandwich and a robot.
So much robot sandwich.
And so it's
Does a
like
sandwich? Does a robot make
it's
sandwiches?
happening in space. There's rockets involved. There's a robot and there's a sandwich. So we're still eating sandwiches. So we're now arguing about the existence of Earth because Earth is the only thing that could have daggone sandwiches. I'm like, I'm sorry.
But
Have you seen the simplicity of this glory? It is two pieces of bread, maybe
but
a
you can't
protein
make
of
bread
some
in
sort,
space.
lettuce, tomato. Like, yes, you can make bread in
No,
space.
you can't.
It's called a space station that has a wheel on it, creating artificial gravity. Boom, bread.
That's no moon. It's a space station. Okay. All right.
But it's that's enough of my
Yeah, we're
crummy
at 3
takes.
hours here. I think it's time. It's time. Anything else before we sign off? And I have to go edit out those lovely interruptions.
Nothing from me. Like I I think at the end of the day we need to consider the bigger picture on a lot of stuff as gamers.
Oh yeah.
Um because it goes down to like the big picture of like what it would take for Bethesda to release a game at that date if they feel it's not ready. And at the same time, you know, stop crushing on people on Twitter. Like you sound like a lot of these people are sounding a little weird about how they're reacting to someone saying, "Hey, maybe if you don't, have the skills to operate this massive company, you should chill out a little bit." Which is effectively what she said. Not disrespectful. She didn't call your mom something nasty, which we all, as denizens of the internet, can acknowledge that is a valid possibility on Twitter. You know, just understand that there's a lot of things that go involved into some company going, this, we're delaying this, and none of those are to mess with you. It is literally because they're like, we will literally lose our house if we release this game the way it is. That's when they go, I'm going to need to delay it, because the choice is super crunch, in which case they pack all those hours into 3 months, which we can all agree that's not good, or delay it. Respect companies that delay and are upfront about that. Yeah, I understand the sad, but maybe chill out a little bit more about it. That's all I got.
Yeah, people need to relax. It's not like the world's
Relax.
gonna end. Go play something else. There's always more games to play. I've got such
There
a big
is
backlog. I literally got like 6 games sitting on my desk. Okay, it's 5.
there's a
And then
ton
I was
of
playing.
games out there.
Oh my god! I was playing Fatal Frame 5 today for a bit, and I'm like, oh, I'll play something else. I, I, I don't know. It's just, well, it's because it was really atmospheric and kind of spooky. I'm just like, nah, I need to like do other things. And it's okay. It's okay to do other things, guys. You don't have to be committed to your games. It doesn't matter when a game comes out. Games do not expire. They don't magically become garbage unless they're
Yeah.
service games. And then eventually they will expire and become garbage. But
Or
like,
their Anthem, in which case they expired before they're released.
I still paid no money for that and still feel ripped off.
I paid $16 for EA, and they had other games I could play, and I feel ripped off.
That's the thing. It's like I played the first 2 Dark Souls games last year. Man, those came
They
out
missed
how
an
long
opportunity on
ago?
that. The gameplay on that was pretty cool. What little there was.
Anthem's flying mechanic was its best part. Everything
Yeah.
else was garbage.
Mm-hmm.
It was it should have just been a single player game. It would have been a great single player game. Because then
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't need to spend all the dev time on other crap. Okay, but before we go on for another 10, 15 minutes, let's go play some video games. Until
Have a
next
good
time, everybody.